May we have your attention? Introducing the Volkswagen May sale. Get £750 on top of existing offers on the amazing Polo, the Made for Adventure T-Roc, and the electric ID4. Major. Visit your nearest Volkswagen retailer. You may just find the car you've been looking for. I said it was in May, right?
Yes.
Sale ends tomorrow, the 19th of May.
Stop it.
Search Volkswagen May sale. T's and C's apply. Retail buyers only. Order by 19th of May. Registered by 30th of August 2025. Volkswagen Finance.
I'm Katie Balls.
And I'm Fraser Nelson.
We're living through a time of historic change, with political and cultural shifts taking place across the globe. And just when you think you caught up, the world changes again.
As columnists for the Times and Sunday Times, our job is to take you to the heart of what's really going on, to offer different perspectives and to challenge the conventional wisdom.
Our columnists don't always agree, but that's the point.
Because great minds don't think alike.
They think for themselves.
Subscribe to the Times and Sunday Times online today.
A Rayo original podcast.
What's up? We're Jordan and Perry.
Join us on our brand new podcast, Brothers Uncovered, where the two of us and my big bro, Ashley Banjo, play our favourite game, Would You Rather, bringing conversations that are chaotic and sometimes morally questionable.
Check out our Brothers Uncovered podcast now on the Rayo app, Apple, Amazon Music, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
The Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast with Trywire.com. Kick high prices to the curb. Drive away with huge savings. It's game day, and this is the home of Scottish football. It's Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Good afternoon and welcome to Clyde One Super Scoreboard on the final weekend of the Scottish Premiership season. It's Trophy Day at Celtic Park, with St Mirren heading to the east end of Glasgow hoping to spoil the party. Is this the final game in charge for Barry Ferguson? Rangers will finish second and head to Hibs, who will finish third. However, there's still plenty to play for Dundee United and Aberdeen, the bottom six tomorrow, and it's Livingston who move on to the final of the Premiership playoffs. I'm Gordon Duncan, and joining me this afternoon you have Gordon Dalziel, Mark Wilson and Hugh Keevins.
Prize-giving day for Celtic, but I suspect only after a proper football match against St Mirren at Celtic Park. St Mirren haven't given up on qualification for Europe. Their manager Stephen Robinson said it would be the achievement of his managerial career if he can reach Europe yet again at the end of this season. Rangers have had a dire season, but Hibs will still regard them as a scalp at Easter Road. They're looking for a big finish to what's been a remarkable season under David Gray. Dundee United and Aberdeen, a lot at stake, but two bad lots. Dundee United have lost 4 on the bounce. Aberdeen have lost 3 on the bounce. Goals for Aberdeen, 1. Goals against, 10. Dundee United start favourites there, Mark.
What a day ahead. Game 38 of a long, hard season for the players, and it draws to a close. Celtic, can they top 111 goals they sit on today? Can they finish it off in style? And then, as Hugh rightly says, Dundee United, Aberdeen, the game with the most at stake. Dundee United, if they could finish 4th, it would be a remarkable season for Jim Goodwin. It would still be a very good one if Jimmy Thelin could finish 4th and take his team into the cup final. And later on, you've got the small matter of the Scottish Championship playoffs, where Airdrie and Cove battle it out.
I agree with the boys. I think everyone's looking forward to the final day, and obviously tomorrow as well. You've got the rest of the fixtures, Gordon. Scottish Cup final next week. St Mirren go to Celtic Park in very good form, but you'd fancy the champions to round a terrific season off in style. I fancy them big time. Boys touched on it. Dundee United, Aberdeen, so important. And can Rangers finish in a high against third place Hibs?
And I'm sure we'll pick Mark's brains on all things playoffs and Partick Thistle as the afternoon progresses. But let's get straight to it, because time is against us already. Celtic against St Mirren. It is Trophy Day, and David Friel is alongside Gabriel.
Yeah, Gordon, good afternoon from Parkhead in the glorious Glasgow sunshine. Another season comes to an end, and it's another trophy for Celtic to lift. They are champions again. their 4th straight Premiership title, their 13th in the past 14 years, and their record equalling 55th overall. Brendan Rodgers' men have been outstanding all campaign. They never looked like letting their grip on the trophy slip from day one. Spearheaded by the mercurial Dyson Maida up top, they've been electric going forward, solid at the back, and most importantly, consistent throughout. This day has felt like an inevitability for such a long time now. A huge 17-point gap between themselves and nearest rivals Rangers. The Hoops have made progress in Europe and are on for another treble, which could be their 6th in the past 9 years. They'll be crowned here shortly after 2:30 this afternoon, with Celtic fans all over the world joining in celebration. But as Hugh said, there is a game to win first. And Rodgers makes a whopping 9 changes from Wednesday's 5-1 victory over Aberdeen. Only Callum McGregor and Paolo Bernardo keep their place in the starting 11. So it's Kasper Schmeichel in goal, Alistair Johnson, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Liam Scales and Greg Taylor at the back. McGregor and Bernardo are joined in midfield by Arne Engels. Nicholas Kuhn and Dyson Maida are out wide. Adam Ida plays through the middle. Rayo Hetate's season is over after Papi Gay's challenge on him on Wednesday. He's not involved at all. The substitutes are Sinisalo, Trusty, Yang, McCowan, Schlupp, Nabrotsky, Kenny, Forrest and Ralston. It looks as strong as it gets for Celtic. David Friel. It could be the team that starts in the cup final.
But barring injury gaps, I think it will be the team that starts in the cup final. I think it's a real statement for Brendan Rodgers. If anyone has any doubts over how seriously he's taking this game, just take a look at the Celtic lineup. He's gone very strong. I think the 11 players that start today, obviously no Rio Hatate, no Jota. I think the 11 players that start today are in pole position to start at Hampden next week. But the likes of Luke McCowan, Yang, David Ellis are all pushing hard. So these players are going to have to put out a statement win today as well.
Yeah, certainly. But for all the talk of Celtic's record, they are facing the league's other form team in St Mirren. Stephen Robinson out on the pitch now, looking at his players warming up. His side squeezed into the top 6 to make it 3 years on the bounce, despite an 8-point deficit between themselves and Dundee United in 5th. An impressive string of results has them 1 point behind the Tangerines in the final European spot, with 3 wins and 2 draws from their last 5. What a performance it has been. Now Robinson makes just 1 change to the team that drew 2-2 with Hibs on Wednesday. Captain Mark O'Hara is in for a duo in midfield. So it'll be Zach Hemming in goal. A back 3 of Marcus Fraser, Alex Gogic and Richard Taylor. Ryan Alabiosu and Declan John will be the wing backs. Killian Phillips, Caelan Boyd-Muntz and Mark O'Hara the midfield 3. Jonah Ayunga and Mikael Manson the 2 up top. Substitutes Uminski, Yakubiti, Tanza, Smith, Kilty, Dowu, McMenamin, Scott and Mooney. And David Friel, Robinson's men have shown they can get results in the crucial part of the season, and they're here with grit between their teeth, determined to spoil this party.
They are determined to spoil the party, and to be honest with you, they'll come here with confidence, they'll play with freedom, and look, it's all there for them. There's nothing to suggest that United are definitely going to win. Can St Mirren go and get a result here? They've certainly got the players in this team. Look at Manson, Ayunga up front, who can cause Celtic problems, and I think they're going to have a go today.
Yeah, can't wait for this one. Stephen Robinson says that European football would be the greatest achievement of his managerial career, but he's at the hardest place of them all to try and get a result. Rodgers said he wants his team to sprint over the finish line. They've won 5 of their last 6, Gordon. They can complete the job here today. The referee is David Dickinson. The VAR, Callum Scott, and kick-off 20 minutes away.
Is this always a special day, Mark, when all the hard work comes to an end and you get the recognition and you get to relax at least for a night or two and celebrate it all?
It certainly is. It's a culmination, like you say, all the hard work it goes into pre-season, all the pre-planning, everything coming together, and there is no real respite when you're at Celtic. Even when you get the title tied up arithmetically, you've still got a bit to play for, because there's still the Rangers game to contend with at Ibrox. But Trophy Day is a day that you can relax together as a squad and try and enjoy the occasion along with your family members and bring them onto the pitch, and you can have that night together after it. But then it quickly changes, the focus quickly goes to the cup final. That will be the case for this Celtic team this afternoon.
And we always said, Gordon, obviously the team lineups in the last few games in many ways become about what the cup final is, and I think the guys have touched on it at the stadium. That's the cup final team now that Rio Hatate's injured, you would imagine.
Yeah, I think that's the strongest team available to Brendan Rodgers as we speak, Gordon. But as much as we will enjoy today and the sunshine, as Matt quite rightly says, lapping it up with their families as well, they'll have one eye next week. They'll have to perform, because they know if they don't, Brendan Rodgers ain't shy of changing it. So as much as, go and enjoy it, it'll be a difficult game. St Mirren in good form, they'll make it hard for Celtic, but I just think Celtic in the sunshine today at Celtic Park will win comfortably.
I think the team is a statement of intent from Brendan Rodgers all the way to the subs bench, where there's no place for young Sean McArdle. The teenager came on at Pittodrie midweek, was terrific in a cameo appearance, but out today, because today is about the 37 other days and nights that went into the creation of Prize Giving Day. And those who have been heavily involved in those other 37 days and nights are on the bench and in the starting 11. So for young Sean McArdle, it's a disappointment, but this is Brendan Rodgers saying, OK, we're minus Rio Hatate. These are the guys who I am going to entrust with winning the Scottish Cup and a world record breaking 9th treble.
Let's hear from both managers.
It's a great reward for the sacrifice that so many people have put in, especially the players over the course of the season. So you get that at the end of the game, but the actual game, we've still targets that we want to achieve. It should be an amazing day. The weather's been incredible up here, so we want to perform. We know it's a tough game. We played St Mirren last season as well, and only won right at the end. But for this game here, we've got a real focus to continue with our performance level that we did the other night, and let's see where it takes us at the end.
We said to the players, we've taken the whole European pressure off and said, let's remain unbeaten in the top 6. For St Mirren to be unbeaten in the top 6 would be, what an incredible achievement. We can't affect the other game. We can't affect what happens at Dundee United and Aberdeen. So can we remain unbeaten in the top 6? That is our first and foremost goal. And if we do that, it might be enough, but concentrate solely on that one aim and see where it takes us.
Let's go to the capital. Hibs against Rangers, and Roger Hanna's there.
Yeah, and I've got high hopes for the game. We'll get the cliche out of the way first, Gordon. There is sunshine on roof today, just as there was on this day 7 years ago when the game finished 5-5. David Gray on the bench for Hibs that day. Neil Lennon doing his aeroplane celebration at Jamie McLaren's injury time winner. If you're looking for something more pertinent, 3-3 here in January as well. Hamza Igaman scoring a hat-trick that night, but there is no Igaman and no Jeffrey in the Rangers team today. They both have minor knocks. They both missed out after that midweek win against Dundee United at Ibrox. In come Nerasho Casanwiro at left back and Danilo up front. So Rangers go Jack Butland in goal. It's James Tavernier, John Suterley and Balogun, and Nerasho Casanwiro across the back. Nico Raskan, Conor Barron and Mohamed Diomande in midfield, and the front three of Václav Černý, Cyril Dessers and Danilo. In the bench, Kelly, Proper, Cortez, Lawrence, Nsiala, McCausland, Rice, Curtis and young Aidan McCallion. Hibs make 4 changes from the side that played St Mirren in midweek. In come O'Hora, Manny, Bowie and Nicky Cadden. Out go Millard, Levitt, Obita and Kuharevic. So they've got Jordan Smith in goal. It's Warren O'Hora, Rocky Bashiri and Jack Iredale across the back. Chris Cadden, Nectar Triantis, Alasana, Manny and Nicky Cadden in midfield, with Junior Hoyler off a front two of Kieran Bowie and the skipper Martin Boyle, who of course signed his new contract extension last night. On the bench, Bursik, Ekpiteta and Levitt, Yuan Obita and Mariah Welch, Campbell, Gale and Kuharevic. Hibs won 2-0 at Ibrox only last month, and they secured 3rd place in the Premiership, Gordon, with that 2-2 draw at St Mirren on Wednesday night. It would mean guaranteed European group stage football next season if Aberdeen failed to win the Scottish Cup final against Celtic at Hampden next Saturday. So David Gray probably swapping one green and white Hibs scarf for a green and white Celtic scarf for 90 minutes next Saturday. There'll be changes here as well in the summer. Dwight Gale plays last game if he comes off the bench today. He's hanging up his boots to become an agent, but the big news here of course is the re-signing of Boyle on a contract next summer. He was among the scorers in that victory at Ibrox last month. He's now on 98 goals in his Hibernian career, and you remember what happened when Brian Graham, that ex-Hibby, was in 98 against Ayr United a couple of weeks ago, twice in that game to reach 3 figures before the end of the season. Rangers of course second it with Barry Ferguson's last game in the dugout. Maybe Davide Ancelotti, Russell Martin, Sean Dyche, Danny Rowell, Stephen Gerrard all linked with this job, but if Ferguson does go after the game he won't be alone. Černý of course, he could go back to Wolfsburg against the last game under contract for Balogun and Tom Lawrence. Janis Hadji as well, who misses out today because of injury. big changes expected with the 49ers enterprises in the summer, Gordon. But if Rangers fans here today are looking for a bit of encouragement, a great start. They've not lost a top flight game here at Easter Road since September 2006. A 2-1 defeat. Chris Killen scored twice for Hibs and got a red card. Philip Sebo scored for Rangers and Phil Barnsley got a red card. It was that long ago. The officials today, Nick Walsh is the ref, the VAR is Andrew Darlington. You look at the big screens, they're showing images of Hibs fans who have sadly passed away during the season, and of course Hibs today mourning the passing of their former centre half Sean Dennis, a one-time teammate of Gordon Dalziel at ref, who tragically passed away yesterday, aged just 55.
Yeah, Gordon, obviously we saw you've put a picture on social media. I thought about you last night when we heard the news and getting marked at Easter Road today.
Yeah, sad days. Great teammate, part of the cup final team, brave enough to stand up to a penalty kick. I was very fortunate to work with him. He was my assistant manager at Wraith Rovers, and he'll be sadly missed.
Yeah, well said, and I'm sure the sentiment's not lost on events at Easter Road today as well. Roger Hannah, it's interesting because in theory, well in fact more than in theory, these teams don't have anything to play for. Rangers will finish second and it's been a wildly disappointing season. Hibs will finish third and it's been a very good season. Do the team lineups tell you though that both managers are just determined to try and win this? It's quite interesting. In the last couple of months we've had all this talk about, if a bigger league, maybe the games would have less pressure on them and young players would get a chance. If there was ever a day to maybe see some different players on show, it would be today at Easter Road, and yet that is not the case.
Well, actually, Gordon, as I was arriving, I bumped into Chris Carden just coming into Easter Road today, and I was saying, are you playing, are you getting a rest? And he said, no, I'm playing. He says he's going with the strongest team possible. David Gray wants to win the game. They have finished third. They had a terrific season after a really ropey start to the campaign. They have found their mojo, so to speak. They've scorched away from Aberdeen and Dundee United for third place. You would think that would mean guaranteed European group stage football for them next season. And Chris was telling me the manager just wants to go out on a high with a win over Rangers. And I think the same would apply for Barry Ferguson. He's going strong today as well, because whether he gets the job or whether he doesn't, he will want to go out on a high as Rangers manager.
Yeah, I mean, on that bigger picture, Roger, I suppose that really is what's hanging over Rangers today. If we're talking about the game not having anything riding on it, you look at the future, not only for the manager, for some of these players. Is this just almost to get a line drawn under what's been a disappointing season and then see what comes next?
Yeah, I think we've said that for a few weeks now. As soon as the Rangers lost to Bilbao in the Europa League, that was the sort of season at an end, if you like, for Rangers supporters. The last game couldn't come quickly enough. They are just desperate to find out the detail of the 49ers enterprises and Andrew Kavanagh takeover. They are desperate to find out the identity of the new manager, and they are desperate to see what players come in to bolster this squad for next season, because there will be changes. Through the week I saw Leon Balogun saying he's out of contract, he doesn't know what's happening. The same will apply with Tom Lawrence, with Yanis Adje. I heard the discussion in the show last night with Hugh and Scott about the future of Václav Černý. Will Rangers push the boat out to bring him back on a permanent deal? What happens with Oscar Cortez? Still not in the Rangers team, Gordon, but still the club are obliged to pay £4.5 million to bring him in a permanent deal in the summer. And what about newcomers? There are stories in the papers today about AEK Athens interest in Cyril Dessers, Strasbourg interest in Hamza Igaman. Would Rangers be tempted to cash in on them to bolster the transfer kitty for the new manager in the summer?
I mean, even you take it, Horatio Casanwiro as an example, Roger. We've really not seen much of him. He's had a long-term injury. He's only on loan to Rangers, of course, but then comes back in and plays today just for sort of one final time. It just all feels very, not aimless, but seems very harsh. But you know what I'm getting at. It's almost like everybody's just trying to get this finished and move on.
Oh, 100%. Couldn't agree more, Gordon. Casemiro had a dreadful time with injury. It was nice to see him get back the other night. He'll get a start on the left-hand side of the defence today. But he's another one. What does the future hold for him? The new management team, Gordon, could even fancy Černý and Casemiro as possibilities for next season. People keep telling me it's only 10 weeks, I think, before the first Champions League qualifier. Rangers, I believe, have a pre-season training camp prior to that down south. It'll be really interesting to see when they make an appointment, and of course the identity of that man, whether it is an Ancelotti, a Deitch, a Martin, or maybe a Ferguson.
Well, first of all, let's address today's game, and I think the Rangers fans will be in that frame of mind as well. Play the football match today And then come Monday, Super Scoreboard, Monday to Friday, will be bombarded with calls about, right, where's the manager? Who's the manager? Is Tierney going, staying? What's happening? I think all of these matters will have greater relevance come Monday. But for today, the football match has to be won by Barry Ferguson for personal pride. For David Gray and everyone associated with Hibs, it should be a source of embarrassment that Hibs have gone 19 years without beating Rangers on their own ground. So there are incentives for both clubs, both sets of players today. But once it's out of the way, the Rangers fans will start asking questions.
The one thing I will say is I think Roger will be in for a treat there this afternoon. I think there's two teams that are set up to go and try and score goals, and they've got players in each team that can certainly deliver. I'm looking forward to that. I think it'll be a high scoring game. Roger touches on that last one, 5-5. I was actually there. It was absolutely brilliant. Atmosphere, everything about it. I fancy that to be a high scoring game today.
It's funny, Mark, because in many ways things always just do come back to the 90-minute football match. That's why everybody gets involved. That's what gives you your joy or your anger or your frustration, because win, loss, draw, it changes nothing. It means nothing to the Rangers fans today. And yet, if this was to go particularly wrong and it was to be a particularly bad performance and Hibs were to win, that would just still add to the sort of fury to underline what's been a disappointing season.
I certainly would underline what's been a more than disappointing season. The only highlight really being the European run, which came to an end a couple of weeks ago. And it seems like this is the same old story. We get to this point in the season, we're always talking about a major rebuild at Rangers. This one seems a bit more significant though, because of what's happening behind the scenes and who might be coming in and the timing of getting it over the line. So I'm pretty sure, especially for the Rangers side, the players will just want this game out the way. Barry Ferguson obviously will want to stay on, but I think he must understand now change is coming. So perhaps there is an element of him that just wants it done and dusted. And the Rangers fans certainly want to see what's round the corner, and they want answers sooner rather than later. And so does the players, the out of contract players. We've got some at Partick Thistle as well. It is never nice, but the fans want to know who's going to be in charge of the club, who's going to be in charge in the dugout, and who's actually going to be turning up in day one in pre-season for them.
OK, let's go to the final game. Dundee United against Aberdeen. Fraser Wishart is going to set the scene for us.
Here we are at match day 38, and they often criticise Premiership with its split. What does it bring? It brings games that mean something up till the last day, and 4 of the 6 games over this weekend mean something, including this one today. It's a winner takes all between United and Aberdeen for 4th and 5th place, although for United there's still the jeopardy of possibly finish in 6th place if they lose and St Mirren draw at Celtic Park. It's been a good season for United, whatever happens after promotion last summer, but if they were to miss out in Europe, I think it'd be a disappointment for their supporters, who will also be wondering if this will be the last time they see some of their favourites at Tangerine jersey. Looks like Declan Gallagher been told he's not getting his contract renewed. Ross Docherty, the skipper, still undecided. And of course, with so many loans these days, like Sam Dalby, who's been great, but it looks like he may move on, having used his success at United as a springboard to move to another club. Aberdeen really need to get a win as a boost for next week's cup final as much as anything after that heavy midweek defeat against Celtic, and I think 5th would be a huge disappointment for the supporters, especially after a brilliant start to the season. Form dropped dramatically in that infamous run of winless games, and despite the investment in bringing new players, I think there'll be a disappointing end to the season if they were not to finish in 4th place. So today's huge importance for Dons as well. They'll bring a huge travelling support. The atmosphere is building really nicely here, pitch looking great, the sun is shining, everything pointing at a cracking 90 minutes to finish the season nicely. But the question is, who will be celebrating at the end? For United, the team's 2 changes for Jim Goodwin's team. Campbell drops the bench, Fotheringham's out injured. In come Trapanowski and Babunski in a 4-4-1-1 formation. David Richards in goals, Ryan Strange, Sam Kuehl-Harding, Declan Gallagher, Will Ferry at the back, Christian Trapanowski, Ross Docherty, Vico Svelge and Glenn Middleton across the middle, with David Babunski just behind Sam Dalby. Only 6 subs. I don't know why he's not put kids on, Jim Goodwin, but 6 subs are Jack Walton, Louis Moult, Emmanuel Adebayorga, Jort van der Sande, Rory Payton and Alan Campbell. 3 changes from that heavy defeat in midweek. Dorrington suspended, Morris and Keskin dropped to the bench. In come Tobers, McGrath and Ockles. It was a 4-2-3-1 formation for Aberdeen. Dieter Mithoff in goals, Alexander Jensen, Christos Tobers, Mats Knester and Graham Shinney at the back, Leighton Clarkson and Antti Palaversa in midfield, with Jimmy McGrath, Kevin Nisbet and Jeppe Ockles behind the lone striker Papit Gay. Their subs: Ross Doohan, Nicholas Delvin, Jack McKenzie, Dante Polvara, Ode Dabag, Shaden Morris, Jack Milne, Peter Ambrose and Toppy Keskin. And the referee today at Tannadice is John Beaton, and the VAR is Stephen McLean.
It's incredible to think we're here already. It is the final weekend of the Scottish Premiership season. Celtic will get their hands on the trophy, and there is plenty to come before then. They'll kick off some next. Just a quick word from our podcast sponsors, Wire, the best way to own an electric vehicle. Wire is a car purchasing platform that only sells 100% electric vehicles. So they'll walk you through the process of selecting a fully electric car that meets both your needs and your desires. Wire prove that virtually every car buyer can go electric today. They've got affordable options, saving you thousands on your next car through the Salary Boost scheme. The scheme makes purchasing an electric vehicle a sensible financial decision. Make sure you check out trywire.com for more information and how you can sign up. Now let's get back to the podcast.
May we have your attention? Introducing the Volkswagen May sale. Get £750 on top of existing offers on the amazing Polo, the Made for Adventure T-Roc and the electric ID4. Major. Visit your nearest Volkswagen retailer. You may just find the car you've been looking for. I said it was in May, right?
Yes.
Sale ends tomorrow, the 19th of May.
Stop it.
Search Volkswagen May sale. T's and C's apply. Retail buyers only. Order by 19th of May. Registered by 30th of August 2025. Volkswagen Finance.
You travelled in time to stop your great embarrassment. You raced through the city, hoping to make it in time. You reached your past self, but it was already too late. And all the while, you were finishing off the laundry. There's more to imagine when you listen. Discover laugh-out-loud comedies on Audible, like Mel and Sue's Should Know By Now. Subscription required. See audible.co.uk for terms.
A Rayo original podcast.
Alright, I'm Pete Wicks, and we live in a world full of men. But what makes a good man? What makes a bad one? Pete Wicks Man-Made is the new podcast where me and my guests dive into modern masculinity, whatever that is. Join me, Tom Grennan, and more.
I was wanting to, be the man of the house with truth, I can barely hang a picture up on the wall. Do you know what I mean?
Listen to Pete Wicks Man-Made now on the Rayo app, Apple, Amazon Music, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome on board Avanti West Coast Standard Premium. With space to just be. Space to relax with roomier seats and extra legroom. Space on your guaranteed table to read, breathe, and let go. Until you stop, obviously. Get from A to Zen in Standard Premium. Book now for a more spacious journey on avantiwestcoast.co.uk/standard premium. Premium. T's and C's apply.
Action as it happens. And your reaction from 5 on the open line. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Almost showtime in the 3 Premiership games. Come on, you duds. I've given you all season long. Match day 38. All you need today is just one final ACCA to prove that you have the prediction power. 3 games. Take it away.
Celtic, home winners against St Mirren. Rangers, away winners against Hibs. Aberdeen, away winners at Dundee United.
Celtic, home win. Dundee United, home win. Hibs, home win.
Celtic, a full house. I'm going for Hibs and Rangers high scoring draw, and I'm going to go for Dundee United to beat Aberdeen.
Clyde One Super Scoreboard. Goal flashes. With M&D Green Pharmacy. Planning your holiday? Get essential health advice and medication before you travel.
A minute's applause at Celtic Park for former chairman Jack McGinn, and of course everyone knows that the story there and the surname, and in fact his grandson Stephen, who's on media duties for another radio station's in the stand, and you can see with tears in his eyes, clearly an emotional start to this afternoon for Celtic. Gabriel.
Yeah, Gordon, exactly as you say, an emotional afternoon, but it was a raucous send out for the players. Display around the stadium, green and white flags on every seat, a celebratory flames rising up from the stands and flashing pyrotechnics with green, white and orange smoke coming from the Green Brigade corner. The sun's beaming down. Callum McGregor led his team out through a guard of honour from the St Mirren players, and we are underway here at Celtic Park. What an occasion.
Well, I noticed another presence at Celtic Park today. Dermot Desmond, the man who is, to all intents and purposes, the owner of Celtic Football Club. And that to me signals the fact that no sooner will Celtic have received the trophy for this season's league title than Dermot Desmond, Brendan Rodgers, Peter Lawwell and Michael Nicholson, the chief executive at Celtic, will be planning next season, because if you stand still in football, you go backwards. Celtic have already lost Jota for a lengthy period of time. Hatate is out injured and with his future uncertain, and Daizen Maeda apparently under contract but not yet willing to discuss an extension to that contract. Many things have to happen at Rangers, but it is the same story at Celtic Park, and for the first time in a long time, in attendance, Dermot Desmond.
Give us your honesty, Mark Wilson. You've played on these days, you're the only one in here. Is there a determination to finish on a high and win the match, or does it not really matter too much? It means a lot to the fans. How do you feel as a player?
I think if this was just petering to an end and they weren't in the Scottish Cup final, then it could just be an exhibition game. But I think you always want, as a player, to go into that occasion in the best form. So I think the focus will be on treating this as any normal game and trying to keep that intensity up. And especially Brendan Rodgers, he always strives for that sort of standard. So I think this does take a different shape today than what we've seen in previous years. So Celtic starting quick, passing the ball at the pitch right enough, but I think they'll give it a good go.
Minutes applause as well at Easter Road for Sir Tom Farmer as well, of course, who has passed away. Not quite kicked off yet there, Roger, you're a bit behind.
Yes, we are just getting underway. A great minutes applause for Sir Tom Farmer, the man who saved Aberdeen, and the pictures over on the big screens here, Gordon, with the 2016 Scottish Cup after that Hampden victory against Rangers. We're hoping for goals again this afternoon. We are now underway in Leith.
I like how you predicted a high scoring draw just because it happened once before
on
the last day of the season.
Yeah, listen,
as if that's got any relevance.
You've got to go brave in this game. There's no point sitting in the fence and going, well, I think Rangers will beat Hibs or Hibs. High scoring draw. Roger will get action, goals, everything. I'm telling you.
Well, it was one of the games of the season, actually, this season. Earlier
that's
on.
right. That's
an
right.
amazing game of football with
when
so much
Rangers
drama in it.
battered them for the first 20 minutes.
That's right,
and then
yeah.
David Gray changed the system and get right back into the game. You've got guys there that can score goals in both teams, and Hibs and Rangers give up goals. So high scoring draw.
Well, we will see. And of course the game that's actually got something riding on it, Mark Wilson, Dundee United and Aberdeen.
Well, so important, a derby in its own respect as well. And at Aberdeen, so often the Golden Boys this season, everybody's speaking about them for the first 3 months of the season. Not much noise about Dundee United. They just chipped away and then found themselves in the top six while Aberdeen were starting to slide, and then you get the shoot off for who's going to finish fourth place. I still think it's an incredible season by both. When you think a new manager and Jimmy Thielen coming in and everything that was achieved in the early part, but then to reclaim some form in a cup final, another semi-final, it's been a great season for them. But for Jim Goodwin, for a team to come up for the championship, to rip up their squad that won that league, redesign it, and then go again with so many impressive performances, it's been an incredible job from him.
It's a big afternoon for Aberdeen, especially after taking the doing they received the other night there from a team that's fully changed, and they're getting into a Scottish Cup final. You don't want to begin in with that heavy defeat and then a defeat again.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Hibs 0, Rangers 1, and it's Cyril Dessers. He went into today top scorer in the Premiership. He's just stretched his advantage. It looks like he may well finish at top of the pile, and it is a disaster for Hibs. It's Smith, the goalkeeper, tries to clip a cute kick into the middle of the park, but Raskin then just heads it straight to Cyril Dessers, who swivels, volleys it into the bottom corner. It is a good finish, but it is a nightmare for Hibs. Not the ideal start for them.
Well, 19 years since Hibs beat Rangers at Easter Road. That's astonishing. And that's an awful start that they have made. But high scoring draws have to start somewhere.
Exactly, and that's a perfect start. I told you, Hugh, there'll be plenty of goals there. And that man, Dessers, come on.
Well,
I was the only one that spotted him at the beginning of the season. I was the only one. I know my football. I know what I'm talking about.
23 goals last season or something, did they not?
Yeah, but you've got to come out with big brave statements. My statement was
funnily
simple.
enough, this is the final Saturday of the season here on Clyde One Super Scoreboard, and generally we dig out the predictions from pre-season and have a look back and see who got the most right. Jim Duffy, we've given him all the credit in the world for predicting back-to-back promotions for Falkirk, because that was the random, the outlandish prediction you had to choose. You did go Dessers top scorer. I have to hand it to you.
Amazing shout, well done.
Unless Dyson Maeda gets 5 this afternoon.
Come on, Dyson.
It won't take 5.
How many Simon Murray behind?
Oh, Maeda, by the way. So Dessers moves on to 18.
Yeah, he's two ahead of Maeda and Murray. 2 ahead of Maeda and Murray now.
Yeah, and by the way, it's only started. He'll get another one this afternoon.
You think so?
Yep. Dessers is a goal scorer. My words on that. It says it there. 18 goals. Is it 18 goals? And he's still got 80 minutes to play, unless he gets subbed.
Well, there's another big call. AEK Athens apparently interested in taking Cyril Dessers. So there's something else for whoever is going to manage Rangers next season to deal with sooner rather than later, because the fans can shout about him, they can be divided on the subject of Dessers, but they are definitely better off with Dessers than without him.
It's amazing there's still an argument over this, because no player in this country is perfect. Every one of them's got their flaws. Dyson Maeda, as good as he's been, he's scooting up all the awards, has got his flaws that Celtic fans still get frustrated when he runs down the line and balloons it into row Z. Jota, a wonderful player, but maybe just too many tricks at times. And Dessers is the same. He's not a complete player, but he is a goal scorer season after season.
What was your
and he still gets
role?
to stick. What was my favourite role?
Role.
Roll. No, I was consistent at hitting the first man. I just got cleared.
He actually had another good chance as well, teed up by Raskin, but again Rangers nicked it off Hibs. So Rangers have started well in terms of their press, but Hibs are not doing their bit right, and it's leading to a lot of Rangers chances early on. He couldn't quite get shot away the second time.
Well, Hibs were looking for the grandstand finale to a season that began in a very poor fashion and ended with third place. But it would appear, from what we're hearing from Easter Road, that they are all over the place.
Early doors, Hugh. Early doors. It happened the last time Rangers were there. Rangers ran them ragged for the first 15-20 minutes. It looked like it was only going to go one way. David Gray tweaked the system a little bit, and all of a sudden Hibs get right back into the game. More goals to come at Easter Road.
Frantic start to the game at Tannadice. Tackles are flying in, says Fraser Wishart. That's what you like to see, isn't it?
Well, Dundee United, the post-split, it's been an embarrassment for them. 4 straight defeats, and yet they're still in with a chance of something. Aberdeen, 3 straight defeats, 10 goals conceded to St Mirren, Rangers and Celtic, and 1 scored. So 2 bad lots are taking it out in each other.
Yeah, Rangers having plenty of attacking play in the early stages. Hibs just struggling to find their feet a bit at Celtic Park. Mark, these games tend to always take on the same shape, don't they? Celtic are going to have most of the ball, but they've not really managed to create anything yet.
Not really, but they move it so quickly and create those little triangles. And McGregor just picking it up there where he scored so many goals this season. Move it from side to side. Yeah, great block. So Pyle being pressured on a wee bit by Celtic, getting the ball in the right areas, but no clear-cut opportunities yet.
Yeah, corner to Celtic as they look to try and produce something from the set piece. Danilo's the latest to have a shot blocked from Desser's pass, the lesser spotted. Danilo doesn't go into the starting 11 too often these days, but he's in there. Hamza Igaman injured. I think Nadim Brahmi feeling under the weather as well, so he didn't travel.
I knew it. Appointed.
I was wondering what you were talking about.
Celtic have tried to be clever from the corner, and referee David Dickinson for some reasons pulled it back. So you know the old one where someone goes over to the corner and just rolls it subtly out of the quadrant, so play should be underway. The defence all think that they're waiting in the middle of the box. Arne Engels then just dribbles towards the box. I don't. What is the rule there? Why is that not being allowed to continue?
I tell you what, because the referees had a nightmare. So not only have St Mirren had a nightmare not recognising it, the referee didn't recognise it. I recognise it. I said
you
to
did.
Daz,
I wondered what you were pointing at.
I said Greg Taylor's taking that, and Greg Taylor plays his part brilliantly. He rolls it out the quadrant, but then he walks away kidding on. Oh, Engels, come over and take it.
He's a great actor.
Yeah, and Engels does. And runs in there.
Surely that should be allowed to play.
So we're going to see it again. So
here.
Greg Taylor, he just drags his ball. Is it anything to do with that? Are you allowed to drag your foot over it?
Yeah,
I suppose you would be. Just
one touch.
I'm just
and look at Engels just looking, noticing no one's there, and he does well to kid on to Boyd Munce. I'm taking this.
Boyd Munce is making the point
that it's out the quadrant.
Yeah.
But Boyd Munce should go then kick it away.
That's incredible.
So the referee
has a nightmare there.
The referee has imagined illegality. Now, we're bad enough trouble with VAR and all the rest of it without referees imagining things.
The only thing, though, there must be a reason that you just make the corner be retaken.
What?
You know,
I
don't
what's
know.
The reason?
We just see it so infrequently.
He's obviously unsure. And obviously the assistant is over in this stand side, so he can't see it. It's too far to see. If the assistant was standing right there, he would be able to see.
Does the ref think the ball's still in the
I think the ref's unsure, so he's just taking the easy option.
Yeah.
And just went, just retake that again.
I think there's something wrong there, he said to himself. But there was no illegality.
Leon Balogun might well be going off. He was fouled by Kieran Bowie, but not. It didn't look like it was more of a kind of barge in the back, I think, as Balogun was trying to shepherd the ball back to goal, and he's gone off. So you just wonder, is that
who?
Robin Propper's come on. Is that Leon Balogun's second stint as a Rangers player over?
I would say so.
Again, given his age and the fact that it's his second time there, and he has problems with injury now on a regular basis, it's yet another decision to be taken by whoever.
Look, he's been one of their best defenders, right?
Yeah.
You've got to give him credit. He still keeps himself incredibly fit. But if you're coming in and you've got a new sort of a vision for Rangers going forward, I think you've got to look at Balogun get out the door and going elsewhere.
Is there any case to say, though, another year and just at least you know what you've got? You know, it's not to say that he starts every week or anything like that, but you know what you've got. You know that if you need him, he can come on and he can be better than Robin Propper is, or he can be better than others.
I could come on and be better than Robin Propper, right? The problem is probably down to wages as well, Gordon. Depends what the wage structure is. If it's a case of he's quite happy to be there another year, the wages aren't too great, then he'd be a good squad addition. The only thing, I'm with you a little bit, he's starting to pick up niggle injuries near the end of the season. But he came out and said it last week, he's still fit, he still feels good enough to go and play. Good experience.
Another corner to Celtic, not as imaginative this time. It went near post, it was flicked on by Dyson Maeda, but doesn't come to much. What do you think, Mark? Leon Balogun?
I would keep him around.
Would you give him another year?
I think Daz hits the nail on the head there. He's been one of Rangers' best defenders. I don't think Rangers are in any position, especially from a defensive point of view, to let their better players go in that department. Now, of course, wage might be an issue, but I would make him an offer, and if it has to be some reduced terms, then you're testing the player on are they want to stay at the club enough.
And do you think it becomes about the rest of it being in place? So if he's your fourth choice centre back and you've got him for another year, then that's perfect. But he can't become the number one again, or he can't become the number two, because the rest aren't performing, or the rest keep getting injured or whatever.
Well, you see the volume of games, and I'm sure the doctor, the sports science team who will still remain in place at Rangers will be passing that advice on to whoever comes through the door, that you need a large squad, and this is happens at this time of the season where you're down to the bare bones, and Balogun, if he's fourth choice at the start, can quite easily work his way up and do a job for you. I would keep him a bit just for the experience. He's still got a bit of pace. I get he's been injured, but some of those injuries have been contact injuries, so I think it'd be harsh to let him go.
These 12 o'clock kickoffs scrambling, or 12:30 kickoffs scrambling my schedule here, Hugh, a bit later than we normally would, but let's do it anyway.
Go for it.
The first half teaser
With the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
Straightforward. In the last 5 years, there have been 9 Canadian players to grace the Scottish Premiership. Name 5 of them. In the past 5 years, 9 Canadian players have played in the Scottish Premiership. Tell me 5.
Well, one of my favourites, yeah.
Excuse me.
Okay, sorry.
What? I mean, it's the last day of the season. I don't know why you're going like last day of school vibes and giving answers away like straight off the bat.
I know. So
you think anything goes on the last show of the season?
I think so. Just a wee hint there.
Yes, 9 Canadian players have played in the Scottish Premiership. Name 5 of them. All 9 would be very tough looking at some of the names. And just to add to Gordon Dalziel's not so subtle clue, of course, worth bearing in mind, we tend to focus on football nationality. Okay, let's see what we can come up with. At Clyde SSB, we're looking for 1 tweet, 5 names on it, and you need to beat everyone else to the punch. So at Clyde SSB, another big chance. Rangers Czerny, is it his final game? Clean through, but Smith saves with the legs.
Sounds as if Hibs are getting a real caning here.
I think they've actually settled a bit, believe it or not, and have at least they've got up the pitch themselves. But with that is leaving a bit of space in behind for Rangers to then try and exploit.
You do wonder what that Rangers team is going. I'm telling you, we'll have some conversation on this show.
Oh yeah.
The last game Rangers played Hibs, how many players will start next season for
First
Rangers?
game of next season.
Yeah, it'll be incredible.
You know what, all season, or well at the tail end of the season, I've been making the comparisons between Neil Lennon coming in and Barry Ferguson coming in at the time they did. And I remember similarities are quite striking. We had to go to Tynecastle and play the last game of the season there, and the league's
a
lost.
Remarkable goal line clearance, if you can even call it that. That truly incredible. Nicholas Raskin's going through. There's a pass in behind. Bashiri's there. It gets knocked round Smith. It's going over the line. But then Rocky Bashiri, I think it is, manages somehow to get his body on the line and just about poke the ball away. And what do you know? Up the other end.
with M&D Green Pharmacy.
What a game. Rangers are millimetres away from making it 2-0, and as quick as a flash, Hibs go up the other end and score. What an afternoon in the sunshine at Easter Road. It's Kieran Bowie who sweeps one in at the other end, like I say, seconds after Rangers somehow failed to double their advantage, and we have a level game.
Come on, Mr. Keevins, heap praise on me. Heap
yes. As I said, a high scoring draw has to start somewhere. It started with Dessers, it's now continued with Bowie.
There might be a VAR check on this for offside for Hibs, but we'll keep an eye.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
And this is a big goal in the race for the European spots. Aberdeen have taken the lead at Tannadice, and it is Jippa Ockels who scores early on in this one. The Dons have the early advantage.
Well, Dundee United have embarrassed themselves post-split. They are now on their way to 5 successive defeats. So, you know, good season up until the split, and now it's collapsed.
Yeah, Nisbet denied by a Gallagher challenge. Jensen picked it up, squared it to Ockels. He scores from 6 yards.
That's a little bit of advantage that Aberdeen have got. See, the manager, he throws the gauntlet down to say to the players today, go and show me you're worthy of a place in the Scottish Cup final next week. You know, Dundee United, you're right, Hugh, they've not had the greatest time the post-split, but as Mark's quite rightly said, they've had a brilliant season under Jim Goodwin. But Aberdeen need a result. They need a confidence booster coming down to Glasgow next Saturday.
I was going to say, Hugh, it's not an embarrassment for United.
Now, hold on a second.
They've come up for
hold
the championship.
Hold on a second. This is one of those ones that can obviously happen with VAR, but you don't really see it too often. Not only they're having a look to see if Hibs are offside, I think they might be taking a look to see if the ball had crossed the line at the other end first.
So it's 2-1.
You dived right in there.
Wow. Now that is quite remarkable. Now remember, we don't have goal line technology here, so you'd have to just looking for that conclusive proof. It needs to be conclusive
Easter Road
proof.
this season has been tricky to see if the ball has been over the line.
I think they've maybe moved on to the offside check at the other end, but there's a lot going on here, and we'll need to wait and see. The goals given for Aberdeen, there was a possible offside against Shinnie, but not doing there, and still major uncertainty at Easter Road, and this is where you have to have a bit of sympathy. I know it's not easy, but people will talk about, why does it take so long? Well, this is why, because you've literally got 2 goals at opposite ends of the pitch, and you have to check and make sure it's all done in the right order.
Poor Roger, his head will be scrambled.
Hibs goal given, Rangers 1, Hibs 1. Hibs 1, Rangers 1, sorry.
Wow, one afternoon, what a start to it. 20 minutes in, no goals at Celtic Park, all happening everywhere else.
Back to my use of the word embarrassment. I said post-split embarrassment.
But still
5 defeats in a row.
Well, you have to take into consideration how you got there.
Yeah, you should lose to Celtic and Rangers in theory, but still, you could do better.
You could do better, of course, but you're against an Aberdeen side who are in the cup final and we're battling out with Celtic for first place at one stage.
A poor Aberdeen team who lost 3 in the bounce.
Remember one thing in this conversation before you keep going.
Yeah,
I'm a Dundee United man.
He's a Dundee United man, and his best pal's Jim Goodman. So you ain't going to win this argument.
Listen, if a championship team comes up and gets into the top 6 and loses all 5 games, I do not think that that's an embarrassment whatsoever.
Interesting.
Well, you would take it, wouldn't you? Obviously,
100%.
I know we get hung up on the order the points get accrued, but ultimately, if you offer Dundee United, you come up first season up, finish top 6.
All it is to survive.
I agree with Mark all day. I know what Hugh's saying. You want to finish on a high. You've had a great season, but you would accept that all day long.
At Clyde SSB on the teaser, remember the football's not leaving us much time because there is high drama everywhere, apart from Celtic Park. Really, it's not necessarily. It's not a bad performance, Mark, from Celtic at all.
No,
just not managed to really carve anything out.
You know
yet.
what's wrong there, of course.
You've not predicted something yet.
He does still on the pitch.
No, I don't think he's touched the ball, but the sunshine.
Oh, of course, you like it dark and dingy.
Sunshine's always good for trophy day, though.
Sunshine and heat.
Would you swap with any of the boys, Hugh, for a game this afternoon?
Swap what?
With any of the pundits out in the games?
No.
With the sunshine?
No.
The game?
Too hot for me.
Too hot for you?
Yeah. I don't like sunshine.
Yeah. What about you, Mark? Would you?
Me, not. But it's pretty shaded in the stands, isn't it? So it's pretty chilly.
Yeah.
As if you're sitting in the sun.
I would take the seat beside Rod Stewart at Celtic because he looks as if he's had a good day.
He's got allegedly.
Yeah.
Mark, I suppose we've got a slight lull in play. It was always going to be hard to fit everything in. How are you feeling about last night? How would you sum it all up? Obviously falling at the semi-final hurdle. Livingston will go on to take on either Ross County or Dundee in the Premiership playoff final. Was it just a step too far, or how do you reflect on it?
Probably. I think in reflection, I did look that way. I think to all you guys watching it, to everybody watching it, probably looked that way as well. Asked a lot of the players. So many injuries at this stage of the season for one reason or the other, and the guys that were fit gave their all for as much as they could. But when you've got Livingston coming off a break, and we touched on their squad, experienced squad, had enough to freshen things up within game, it was always going to be hard. And look, boys started really well, and I thought when we were on top, if we got that first goal, it may have taken a different shape, the game. But then when we lost the first goal just 5 minutes before half time, it certainly deflated it. But even then, I thought you get the next one and you just never know again. But it just never materialised.
Yeah, I was very impressed with you, the way you've handled the full situation. I think you deserve a lot better, and hopefully maybe next year.
Oh, thank you.
Back to the 80s.
So what's the official state of play as things stand? Because obviously it's not only you, but Brian Graham's in a particularly interesting situation. Yeah. The club have announced he will step down as women's manager. He was obviously on television last night saying that he would find it very hard to stay as a Thistle player next season, as he's contracted to at the moment, if a new manager came in. So you don't know anything yet, or when that's going to
honest truth, Gordon, we don't know. That's what the sporting director was appointed for, Ian Barakoff, and he's got some big decisions, and Ian's been in for about maybe 6 weeks, something like that, around about that. So he's had plenty of time to cast his eye over, the work that we've been doing, the work that the players have put in, those out of contract players, and it's over to him now. So
does he actually know that you work in radio as well?
Yes.
Does he know that?
I did mention him. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why is he phoning you?
To sack me, man. Please. I just thought I'd let you know. You've not got a job on Monday.
I am praying you take that call at an interval.
So we don't know at this moment, but Ian then obviously has to sit down this week. Big decisions at the club to get it moving in the right direction, but it's over to him now.
Yeah, well, Thistle fans, feel free to give us a call later on. And
not
give
that
us
guy.
That's
the other day.
Did you hear it there, night, Hugh? Tell me.
I did. Yeah.
Brilliant, wasn't it?
I don't know if these things, if the sting comes out of them at all, because it's the end of the season and it doesn't impact outcomes and so on, but nevertheless, in just a pure controversy sense, we will not have heard the end of this Hibs goal.
Yeah.
It really does look like the ball had crossed the line at the other end. Now, we don't have goal line technology, we know that, and you're then sort of relying on, similar to Maeda's one at Easter Road earlier this season, you need your conclusive proof, otherwise the on-field decision has to stand. That's just the way it is. However, it really, really looks like it's over. Again, to caveat that, we've seen it before with the way perspective works and so on, and if you can't be totally sure, then you just can't be totally sure.
Again, in the case of Alistair Johnson, in the lead up to the Maeda goal that was disallowed, it was still photography against the naked eye, and no one could offer conclusive proof that the ball had crossed the line. Therefore, VAR should not have intervened. So I haven't seen the Rangers one yet, but it sounds like a similar controversy.
I mean, if this matters, Gordon, again, it needs to be conclusive, so not much you can do, because we've all seen it before. You get the perspective and you turn the camera around the other way if you go above the goal line, which is what you really need to tell for sure. However, just in the basic eye test, it looks like it's over the line.
Well, there'll be plenty said after the game, especially when Hibs go right up the park. Rangers are comfortable. They look like they're going to go 2-0 up, which would be a brilliant start to the game for them. And then all of a sudden, Hibs got up the park 1-1. I don't think Barry Ferguson will be too happy in the dugout just now.
At 2 up, then there's no high scoring draw. It only gets worse for Hibs.
Yeah, but they were 2 up the last time, and Hibs come back.
That was then. This is now.
Yeah.
Well, we've seen the picture and it looks, it's clear as day to me, it looks over.
The net would stop me.
Amazing if that's the second time this year at Easter Road that obviously this one a more telling one, because it's a goal.
It also looks clearer than the Maeda one did.
Yeah, it does.
You know, because Maeda, I remember loads of debate that week where people saying, I think it looks out, I think it doesn't, I think it looks out, I think it doesn't. I think everyone would agree this one looks over the line, but I have to keep saying it, the conclusive proof bit, the way that perspectives work and all that stuff, maybe I'm missing something. Entirely possible, but yeah, I think there'll be a lot of Rangers frustration after that one, that's for sure.
Who says the last day of the season's boring? You know, nothing to play for. There's always something in these games,
apart from Celtic Park.
Still, I think it's been played at a good pace. I think it's kind of similar to what we've seen this season from Celtic. Move the ball quick.
I think it's an interesting one for you coaches. You know, St Mirren are they're fine, solid, their shape's good, etc, etc, etc. But it's a game so far bereft of chances at either end.
Yeah, and by the way, that's credit to St Mirren as well.
Yeah,
I mean, you're saying about Dundee United and the post-split games, they've been the opposite. They have been absolutely terrific. I wonder how close Stephen Robinson came to that Hearts job. Wonder if he even got
an interview
or a call.
The Hearts job fascinates me in one respect. Every time Hearts get mentioned now, Jamestown Analytics gets mentioned in the same sentence. Jamestown Analytics, you're telling me that they arrived at Derek McInnes, a man who's been under Hearts' nose for the last 12 years.
I think we're maybe being a bit simplistic with it though, because as part of a process, you feed the analytics machine or whatever with, you know, criteria that you want, and if you want it to take into account Scottish football experience or Scottish Premiership experience, then it might tell you that Derek McInnes is top of the list, based on other criteria as well. I think we're all being a bit ignorant, possibly, and a bit, and because I'm not pretending I know loads about it either, but I think you have to assume that there is more to it than that. But again, I think we've all got it like there's this machine in the corner,
and it just spits out Derek McInnes.
And then this time, do you know what? They've just gone, alright, switch that machine off a second and just go for Derek McInnes. I think there's got to be more to it than that.
Again, to play the devil's advocate, it's only a few months since the analytics, the algorithms came up with Neil Critchley, who was totally, utterly unsuited to the job.
Again, though, it would be very Scottish football of us to look at what can be done at Brighton and look at what can be done in Belgium, and say because it gets the very first appointment wrong that well, that's it then, just doesn't work, rubbish, hopeless,
that is Scottish football in a nutshell.
It is very Scottish football, isn't it?
Yeah, you need to stick to the process. And Derek McInnes' data, if you like, or whatever, it'll be good over the years.
Think of like the work and the level of detail and intelligence that's gone into this, and Tony Bloom, and it's been crafted over the years, and then we just tell, listen mate, it doesn't work. Look at Neil Critchley, it doesn't work, pack up your things and go.
I think what they've done this time, they've looked at the board, have sat down, they've decided they want a Scottish manager, they want a manager that knows the league, they've come up with a few names, then they've went and put the information in there, and Derek McInnes has come top of the list. I think that's how it would work for me, Gordon.
It also doesn't mean it's meant to obviously give you the best chance of success. It surely can't mean that you get every single appointment or signing right from now until the end of time. Otherwise that's just a cheat code, as the kids would say.
But football's such a fluid thing as well. Yeah, you put a man in place like Critchley who ticks all the boxes, but a lot of things happen. Injuries take place to your team. You get a few bad decisions that cost you a few results, that things then don't go your way and it snowballs into a bad run. You end up then coming under pressure in the dressing room. All these moving parts in football, the analytics just can't tell how that's going to pan out. It's only to give the best chance. I'm sure they thought they had the best chance with Critchley, but he didn't manage his time the best, or the opportunities or situations didn't fall the right way for him.
Anyway, Hugh, it's title day at Celtic Park, trophy day. Anything much doing?
As I say, it's a great game if you're a coach and an analysis expert, and it's very good on the part of St Mirren the way they've stopped Celtic, and they're also good going forward, St Mirren, and Celtic have moved the ball about, but the game is just bereft of chances. The goalkeepers have had nothing to do. I just noticed people in the crowd fanning themselves. It must be desperately hot at Celtic Park. I don't know if that's affecting the players, but
have they not got a water break yet? Have they? Have we missed that?
No water break either.
Yeah, I thought they would have had a little water break. Listen, as a great ball comes in for the right hand side, I think a lot of credit's got to go to St Mirren. I think St Mirren are looking a confident side, and rightly so. They're finishing the season on a high. They're well organised, they're comfortable on the ball, but you know what, like, as we've seen this movie before, when Celtic look like they're not at their best, all of a sudden they get that goal, and by the second half it's 3-4. So St Mirren just need to be careful. I think they've settled into this game brilliantly. As I say, they look comfortable in the ball, they're well organised, but they just need to make sure that their concentration levels are high all the time.
Celtic need to get Yang on.
Things you never thought you would hear. Rangers have responded well to that bit of controversy, that frustration. I think Tavernier whipped one wide of the post. Diamandi's now gone into the book though. He pulled back Triantis.
He's had some bookings this season, Diamandi.
Is that Triantis that caused the stir last week with Mark Wilson?
Not with me.
Yeah, you were very critical of the guys that are sitting listening to this show. An apology would be accepted from
them to us.
No,
for putting him in the running.
Roger and big red faced Friel at Celtic Park.
It was an outrageous shout for them. They were just trying to get someone else in there that wasn't.
No, you see the spread
wasn't Celtic
in the
Rangers
in the Scottish Football Writers Association. The spread is so great. You know, you're talking about football writers, the length and breadth of the country. Therefore, in that part of the country there would be a movement for Triantis.
That's some stat there for you, Hugh.
Do you know what's funny? Just on that though, do you know what it led to? Because never let it be said that context gets lost a wee bit on this show. I thought it was quite obvious we were having a bit of fun against the football writers, you know, trying to say, like, they're trying to be too clever. Look at Nicholas Kuhn here, look at his numbers, how can you ignore him? What it did lead to was my first ever an email, and to be fair, the gentleman was very polite and started off complimentary and put in a butt concerns that I had anti-Hibs bias on this show, and I liked it because obviously, you know the way Glasgow works, you're used to the other stuff daily. People can't make up their minds and they want to project their own bias onto other people, which is totally fine. It kind of makes this city go round. But I thought, do you know what, after 8 years I'm quite refreshed. Something new, anti-Hibs. We were anti-Hibs when really it was all about poking fun at David Friel and Roger Hanna. Nectar Triantis has had a perfectly good season. All you have to do is listen to the way we have Andy Halliday praise him and bum him up every week on this show. It just felt like good fun to have a dig at the football writers. So let me confirm once and for all, we have nothing against Nectar Triantis or Hibs. I never thought it would have to be said, but there we are. Anything else catching your eye, Gordon?
The thing that caught my eye was the stat that came up there on the TV. 35 minutes on the clock. Adam Ida 3 touches.
Yeah, take him off.
That's incredible.
It's 2 more than you would have at this stage.
Probably.
I told you, take him off, put Yang on and put Maeda through the middle. Maeda has lost all his significance for Celtic in recent weeks. After 33 goals, the wells run dry because he's stuck out there, and Adam and Eva is playing through the middle.
You know what's going to happen here, Hugh.
That's what I was going to say. Ida keeps scoring though, through the middle. That's his job. That's his number one priority. Score goals. And he has.
Right, but see, to be fair, Mark, if somebody like Jota was fit, Maeda would be through the middle in the cup final, wouldn't he?
Yeah, for sure.
100%.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think he would be.
Are we not perhaps though forgetting that Jota wasn't necessarily firing on all cylinders?
I totally agree.
Do you think it's a guarantee?
He get left out as well.
Do you know what I mean? You think it's a guarantee?
Yeah,
because if Adam Ida, as Mark says, is scoring goals, and we don't know how Jota would be playing. Jota might be playing out his skin at this point, right? But I'm just saying, is there not a possibility that if his level dips and Adam Ida's still scoring goals, you want Adam Ida in the team, and then Daisa Maeda plays off the left?
Well, Brendan Rodgers could do that. Listen, I won't be surprised if Adam Ida puts one in the back of net this afternoon. But I just think that if you were playing your strongest team right now, your best team, for me, Maeda is better through the middle all day long for me. So that's why Jota, terrific talent, that's what they brought him back for, the big games. If he'd been fit, I think Maeda, Jota and Kuhn would have been.
It was always a case of building up Jota's momentum. You know, he had played very little football in the Middle East, and he had played little football in France, and he came back here, and it was all about building up slowly, and then unfortunately he had the serious injury at Tannadice.
I was thinking in terms of right now though, Adam Ida's scored in his last 5 games in a row. He's got 6 goals in that time. Now I get it, and I know the point over the piece, and there's this stuff about general play and minutes and whether sometimes he can come on when Celtic are cruising and add another goal, fine. But he scored in his last 5 games in a row. I think it's a strange time to have that level of criticism.
Well, of course, and I back him. Is he the best technically? No. Could he do more? Of course he can. But as a Celtic striker, you're there to occupy the penalty area and to score when the chance is given to you, and he's doing that just now. But it's because I said before, if Adam Ida was 3 million quid, 4 million quid, there wouldn't be such a big furore over his performances. Because it's 9 million, it's not his fault, he's still scoring goals.
Hugh, read your teaser again. For what it's worth, there are actually 10, but remember, we're only asking you to name 5 of them anyway, so it doesn't matter much. No one's going to be done out of anything here.
Yeah, in the past 5 years there have been 10 Canadian players in our Scottish Premiership. Name 5 of them for me.
There you go. That's all we need to do, is name 5 of them. At Clyde SSB, get them in. What you got about? We'll do 5 minutes, 5-minute warning if you like. You two taking part?
I've got 3. I think the 3 obvious ones. I'm missing 2.
What's the first?
Yeah, they're the 3 obvious ones we've got, but
let's see them out of curiosity.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
Let me see Hugh's list.
Oh no, that's no good.
No,
You're
that's
asking
fine.
for the
There's
list.
just one that I'll say you should get, Gordon Dalziel.
I've got it already.
Have you got them all?
Oh, no, not in his.
Nope, he's got 3 written down. There's another one that you should get. That's my clue to you. Doesn't mean much to the listeners. No, you've not coached them. What would be the chances that you've coached 2 Canadians on this list?
Right, I'll tell you, I know where you're guiding me to.
Okay, great.
Near my house.
Yes, I guess so.
Okay, thank you.
Right, who is it then?
Well, this is the next problem. I think I detect he doesn't know this guy's Canadian. I think
Yes,
that's
I do.
I think that's the issue that he's running into here.
No, I'll tell you. He is, right. You want me to write it down?
This works great on radio. No one can see us here or see
No.
what you're writing
No.
down.
Oh.
My goodness, what a low bar. You were going to get a goal before the break at Celtic Park, Hugh?
I don't think so.
That's not how you spell it.
The game has gone on in the same vein for 40 minutes now. There might be a little extra time added on because Zach Hemming in the St Mirren goal had an injury problem early in the game. As I say, it's football for the purist, but not a lot of excitement for a huge crowd.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Hugh. It's sometimes nice on the eye and plenty of people willing to take the ball, but no clear-cut opportunities really. You know, Celtic's had the ball in and around the St Mirren penalty box loads, but never anything troubling the goalkeeper.
I got a bit nervous there because I saw a statement from Partick Thistle, a club update, and I thought, see if I need to tell him live on air that he's been relieved of his duties.
Yeah.
Even by our sort of laughing, joking, jovial
Brilliant,
standards,
that would be good.
I don't know how I'm going to deliver this.
Oh, just let me deliver it. I'll do it for you.
So I've been scanning the statement, palms sweating. But you've not been binned yet. By the looks of it.
That's a relief.
It's just because
Thank
you said
goodness.
your phone had been ringing while we were on air.
It was ringing.
And I thought,
From
what if
the
they're
main line.
What if they're trying to give him the heads up, but they can't get him, so they've put the statement out anyway?
That would be a kick in the
hand. You know, you sometimes,
but good for the show.
You know, you sometimes hear that. You know, like, was there not a player down south last week? He found out on Instagram he had been released or something like that.
Oh, I mean,
but anyway,
horrible.
your club chairman has issued a statement to say,
was he giving it?
Just thank all the supporters for backing the team. To all the players, staff, volunteers, you've given your all, thank you. Planning for next season's already started, with the immediate focus being the appointment of a first team coach, a process being led by our sporting director Ian Barraclough. We're at an advanced stage in this process and expect to make an appointment soon, etc, etc.
Okay, good stuff.
Right.
By the way, touching on the fans last night, you know, I'm never one for you know, the cheerleading stuff or anything like that, but brilliant attendance last night from Thistle fans, and they stayed right to the end, so real connection there, and that's down to the players.
It's one thing about Partick Thistle. See if they get a good winning team with a good coach, they will turn out in numbers, Mark. And they're at the sentiment of the fact that you're saying they're turning out numbers because you and Brian doing a terrific job. It was always going to be a difficult
It was
task.
amazing, and even David Martindale before the game and Brian Rice both saying to me, what an amazing support you have got to bring that much through, and it shouldn't go unnoticed in Scottish football where prices are high and it's dear to travel. To take that many through was fantastic, so well done to the other Thistle fans.
Especially when David was gone in your last game.
We now need to ditch the Partick Thistle bias in the playoffs. Who are you throwing your weight behind now? You moving on, Livy or Ross County or Dundee?
I think Ross County will be in the playoff, but I think they will have too much for Livy.
Really?
Mark might disagree with me.
I'm not so sure.
No,
I think Livy will give any of them a game. I think Dundee have got plenty of goals in their side, of course, and pretty dangerous going forward, but they concede a lot. But I think Livy have got experienced players all throughout their squad.
I think it will be. You're right, Mark. Out of all the teams, I think Livy are better equipped to have a go coming back up. But I just think that over a piece, Ross County, who I think will be in that spot, will just pip it. Are we having the predictions today, Gordon, anyway? Because I'm excited to see who's... Because I won last year, so I'm the reigning champ.
Did you win?
Yeah. You got the most right, I think.
Yeah, a reigning champ.
Good low save from Mitov. for Aberdeen. Still the Dons lead 1-0. Maeda nearly pulls one back for Kuhn there in the box. There's going to be a free kick out wide to Celtic as well, trying to swing one in. Still 1-1 at Easter Road, but Rangers thought it should have been 2. They thought the ball had crossed the line, and Hibs went straight up the other line, up the other end, and scored. We'll all have our feelings on that eventually, and I'm not trying to take the sting out of that, but that is also a nightmare scenario, isn't it? Because it's a double fury, if you like, because it's one thing you're denied a goal, but in the denial of that, the team goes up the other end and scores.
It's the perfect storm for Scottish football. We absolutely adore rows about anything. Give us a row. I'd rather have a row than a goal.
I'm waiting for Rodgers' half-time report to see that. See, you're talking about the went right off the path. Did Rangers players switch off because they thought it was a goal?
No, nothing like that. No, it was just a sort of. Yeah, I mean, listen, that might have played a small part, but it's not like they were all standing around and Hibs surprised them. It was just a counter-attack.
Yeah, okay.
And like we said, there was a bit of a claim for offside actually as well, which is what took so long. Let's round this off, Hugh, whilst we can.
The first half teaser
with the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
In the past 5 years, there have been 10 Canadian players in our Scottish Premiership. I ask you to name 5 of them. Scott Arfield's there, Theo Bair, Jay Chapman, Junior Hoylett, Victor Loturi, Alistair Johnson, Harry Payton, Ben Payton, and Charlie Trafford.
And David Wotherspoon as well. So well done to Henry, who was in 3rd place, Normal Well Fan in 2nd, and Igaman Prop, the winner of the first half teaser. Got a good Who Am I for you a bit later on. Did you two only manage, 4 of those?
4. But one of those was Witherspoon, who I feel might have been added late to the list. Was he the 10th?
I bet it was any 5, remember, so it didn't really impact things. Right, half time, Celtic Park. Here's David Friel and Gabriel.
Yeah, it's Celtic 0, St Mirren 0 at the interval. Celtic on top and seemingly in control, but lacking that final pass. Plenty of crosses and corners, 7 to be exact, but they're yet to fashion a clean opening. They've only had 1 shot on target, Gordon. And Nicholas Kuhn and Dyson Maeda struggling to get into the game, and when they do beat their men, they just can't find anyone in the box. So St Mirren have defended resolutely. Their back 3 once again solid. Had a couple of moments going forward from long balls into the box, and Mikael Mandron struck a left-footed effort into Kasper Schmeichel's mid-drift. But a point could be good for Stephen Robinson's men. David Friel, what have you made of those first 45 minutes?
Yeah, Gabs, I think as you said, Celtic loads of the ball, especially in the final third, but Dyson Maeda and Nicholas Kuhn not really get much space to work in. I think Celtic do need more from Adam Maeda. This is a game where he needs to be holding the ball up a lot better than he has. Zach Heyman hasn't really had a safety making the St Mirren goal, and I think it's fair to say Stephen Robinson will be the happier manager. And I do wonder at half time if Brendan Rodgers starts to think of maybe James Forrest or Yang, just to give Celtic a different dimension on the wings with Dyson Maeda through the middle.
Yeah, what a story that could be, David, if James Forrest was to come on and make the difference on the final day, get his first goal of the season. But whatever happens here, there will be a party once the trophy comes out in an hour's time. But with the Scottish Cup final and a possible treble just 7 days away, Brendan Rodgers will want much more from his team. At the break, Celtic 0, St Mirren 0.
Not much doing in the first half, Hugh, for all being completely honest.
It's been a bore. If you're a thrill seeker, it's been a bore. If you're Gordon Dalziel and Mark Wilson and you appreciate the technical points of the game and you thrive on that, then you've liked the game from that aspect. But if you went to Celtic Park looking for goals, thrills and spills, then halfway through the game you're getting none of that. And I do think that change will happen naturally. I take on board what David Friel said, that you contemplate Forrest or Yang and put Maeda through the middle. I think that would be an idea, but that will happen naturally anyway, because second half Brendan Rodgers will use all of his subs. I'm quite certain of that, and St Mirren will do well to keep Celtic at bay for another 45 minutes.
Also a bit of credit to St Mirren, David. If there's one team that can make life very difficult for you and can take advantage if you are a couple of % off and you're attacking cutting edge, then It's St Mirren. They're a tough nut to crack for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. And Brendan Rodgers actually mentioned that yesterday. I don't think it was just platitudes, Gordon. You know, I think he does have a lot of respect for Stephen Robinson, how he sets his team up, and it's been fascinating watching Stephen Robinson on the touchline as well. He must have burned some amount of calories. He's been up and down. He's been cajoling his players, encouraging his players, and he looks very, very happy with the shape and just how they've applied themselves. And as I said, you look at Kuhn and Maeda, the input and the impact they've had this season. This is as quiet as I've probably seen them all season. So St Mirren are doing their job. As things stand, it could be enough to get them that European place, and Stephen Robinson will just tell his players to come out with the same attitude, but I would expect a bit of a difference from Celtic in the second half, personnel and style.
What have you made of it, Mark?
Much like the guys are saying, Celtic have huffed and puffed. I thought they moved the ball quickly in the opening stages, and it looked like it was going to just be another day where Celtic would get the first goal and blow St Mirren away. But they've defended well, St Mirren, defended the gaps really well, not allowed some Celtic players to get in behind them, and that's led to a lack of chances from a Celtic point of view. I mean, how many times this season we see Celtic getting to the touchline, cut a back goal? Only a couple of times they've got to the touchline, but the quality has then been poor, and nothing much more than that. So changes maybe will take place at half time.
Half time at Easter Road. Here's Roger Hannah.
Half-time, Gordon. It's Aberdeen won, Rangers won, but that really doesn't tell the story of an incredible first half here at Easter Road. It started with a minute's applause for former Hibs owner Sir Tom Farmer, who of course sadly passed away last week at the age of 84. But the drama here started inside 2 minutes. Hibs keeper Jordan Smith had dreadful clearance straight to Nico Raskan just outside the box. He headed into the path of the Premiership's leading goal scorer Cyril Dessers, who swivelled and buried the ball back past Smith into the bottom corner for 1-0. He almost repeated the trick moments later. Raskan feeding Dessers again, but this time he was crowded out the box. Danilo next defending for Rangers, a short block from a Dessers pass. It was a really bright start with the visitors, but then Hibs showed their teeth. Martin Boyle breaking clear, and his shot was saved. It was blocked, I should say, by John Suter. Rangers then lost Leon Balogun to injury. He'd been filled by Kieran Bowie moments later. It just didn't seem right after that, and was replaced by Robin Proper. Václav Černý then gave the ball away to give Hibs a sight of goal. Junior Hoylett's 20-yard shot saved by Jack Buckland. Rangers then should have been 2 up. Černý breaking clean through, but he was denied by the legs of goalkeeper Smith. And then the controversy, an incredible double miss, or was it, at one end? Nico Raskan going round Smith. Rocky Bashiri was there on the line. Cyril Dessers was also present. It looked as if the ball was over the line before it was hacked clear. Referee Nick Walsh waved play on. There's shades here of Arthur Johnson and Dyson Maeda in the ghost goal for Celtic at Easter Road earlier in the season. And then to add to that controversy, Hibs sweeping to the other end, Boyle teeing up strike partner Kieran Bowie for a left foot finish past Buckland. The controversy in the drama not finished there. A lengthy VAR check for offside, but the goal for Bowie, the equaliser in 16 minutes, was given. And what a week for referee Nick Walsh after his spot kick row at Dens Park on Wednesday night. Smith then made a fine diving save from James Tavernier's 25-yard free kick. Tavernier then swept a right foot shot across the face of goal from a Raskin pass. And then as the game became chousy, both Bowie and Mohamed Diamande booked by Walsh for fouls in the middle of the park. Černý had a shot saved by Smith. Raskin glanced a header over from Černy's in-swinging corner and stoppage time at the end of the half. But I don't think we've heard the last of that 30 seconds of drama. No goal Rangers, goal Hibs, an equaliser when it might have been 2-0. At the break, I can't confirm, Gordon, Aberdeen 1, Rangers 1.
It's one of those, Roger, as well, that the argument will never satisfy anyone here, because I think it's quite clear actually. We've learned the stuff about Dyson Maeda. VAR does not give that goal because it feels they don't have something absolutely conclusive to prove that it is over the line. But then loads of other people are going to look at it and go, I think that is conclusive, that does prove to me that it's over the line, and round we will go.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get a conclusive answer. I'm high up, we've got a great vantage point, as you know, here at Easter Road. I'm high up on the centre line looking across to my left. It looked to me as if the ball was over the line, and I say that as well because Rocky Bashiri and Nicholas Raskin and Cyril Dessers seemed to pause as if they were waiting on a goal to be given, and then quickly it became apparent the goal wasn't given. Hibs swept to the other end, and it's nothing to do with it. The Hibs goal has nothing to do with the Rangers goal that wasn't counted. The Rangers just didn't defend it properly, and Kieran Bowie scored another good goal for 1-1. But I think this will rumble on for a while. It did look like a goal from here, but of course, I'm a long way away. How can you have conclusive proof?
And then again, that's the problem, because it's one thing what you think from there, but even the still images, that's what people will really be basing their opinions on. And again, if you want me to be on it, does it look over the line to me? Yes, but I suppose in many ways that's that's not the question, is it? It's not the question that has to be asked.
No, and listen, you have your VAR review show with Willie Collum. I'll be fascinated to hear the protocols for this. We of course don't have goal line technology in the Scottish Premiership. It is an expensive tool to have. The clubs don't want to spend the money. That's fair enough. It's down then to the sight of the linesman and to Nick Walsh for them to decide. But when they go to the other end, Bowie scores, there's the VAR check for Kieran Bowie's goal, whether or not there's been an offside in the build-up. Is there a VAR check? Is there any protocol there that allows Andrew Dallas, who I think's in the VAR room with Graham Leslie today, is there any protocol that they go back and try and look at any images of Raskin's effort at the other end?
They will have, that's the point. They will have, and then they feel that there's nothing conclusive. Like I say, loads of people are going to disagree with that, but that's, I think, quite clearly what the process is. But there's obviously people who are going to disagree with the outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, it's a real moment of controversy. It's been a very good game. Rangers have actually played well. They should have been 2 up before the controversy. Chelney should have scored when he was clean through in Jordan Smith. They thought they had scored when Raskin knocked the ball over the line. They were playing well at that stage. But Hibs are a decent team. They've come back into it. Mark Wilson's friend Nicola Triantis is playing well in the middle of the park. Boyle, of course, is a threat. And I think if they can keep him fit, Gordon, I think Kieran Bowie will be a major asset for Hibernian next season. We spoke at the top of the show, Dwight Gale retiring. I think Mikola Kuharevich will go back to Swansea City after his loan spell. Eli Ewan may well be sold during the summer. But with Martin Boyle committing his future again to the club last night, I think a front pair of Martin Boyle and Kieran Bowie will cause people problems next season.
It's also half time at Tannadice. Here's Fraser.
Half time, Dundee United 0, Aberdeen 1. A really good game to watch. Always something going on, plenty of action in both boxes and played at a really good tempo. Aberdeen deservedly ahead after all their early good play through a Jeppe Oppels goal. It's once United did come back into it later in the half. Still a pressure early on in the 7th minute, really good save by Dave Richards, diving to his right to push away Papa Gay shot from 25 yards. That led to a spell of pressure. United couldn't get out of their own box. A series of corners, McGrath hit the bar, the chip shot was scrambled away. United just relieved to get up the park. A Middleton cross tipped over the bar by Mitov at full stretch. It was just about sneaking in at the back post. Then the 16th minute came the opening goal from Aberdeen, deserved opener. Graham Shinney broke clear on the left hand side in behind the back 4. His low cross across the 6-yard box looked like Nisbet was going to tap in. Brilliant challenge with Declan Gallagher, but the ball fell to Alexander Jensen, who squared it to Oppels, who fired home from 6 yards. His first goal for Aberdeen since signing in January. United's responded positively. Gallagher with a header just over from 6 yards at the back post. Middleton 25 yards free kick straight at Mitov. To be honest, Aberdeen continued to dominate the game, quicker on the ball, first to second balls, a real threat up front. Palaversa and Clarkson outstanding in midfield. Then half an hour and another spell of Aberdeen pressure, series of corners, really good defending their own box. Gallagher outstanding spells with blocks as well. At the other end, a scramble 6 yards out in the Aberdeen box. Dalby, hardly seen in the first half, almost squeezed the ball over the line. It was scrambled away by Taubers. And then the 40th minute, young Sam Cleel-Harding brought out a really good save from Mitov, low to his right. The young defender struck his half volley from 20 yards really well. United not out of this. They're shooting downhill towards their own fans in the second half. They showed they're still a threat. Aberdeen been excellent so far. I don't see this game ending 1-0 at the end of this 90 minutes. More of the same in the second half would do. Half time at Tannadice, Dundee United 0, Aberdeen 1.
And the second halves are coming up next.
Fastest goals, the experts' opinions. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Second half about to get underway at Celtic Park, where it remains Celtic 0, St Mirren 0 on Trophy Day. You'd expect Celtic to try and up their levels, but St Mirren have done well. It's not all about the failures of the big team, remember. St Mirren deserve credit for the way they've gone about their business. Let's check back in at Easter Road. Anything doing at half time there worth noting, Roger?
No, not at all. I mean, all the controversy, as you can imagine, all the chat up here in the press box at the back of the main stand is about the ghost goal. Nico Raskin, was it over the line, was it not over the line? The officials say no. I believe people at Hampden are briefing that there was no conclusive evidence. It was not enough for the VAR, Andrew Dallas, to overturn the on-field decision of Nick Walsh and his linesman. No goal. Hibs go to the other end. Kieran Bowie onside, 1-1. Very much game on, and it's all to play for here in the second half. Fascinating to hear what Barry Ferguson, and what might be his last ever post-match address as Rangers manager, makes of the game and makes of that call, Gordon.
Any changes that you could foresee at the break?
No, as far as I know, I'm just looking down. The Rangers substitutes are out there just now. I think they're all out. They've already made one change. Leon Balogun injured after just 10 minutes after that collision or the foul by the goal scorer Bowie. Robin Proper came on, but it looks to me that all the rest of the Rangers subs are out there just now. We're slightly delayed in the kick-off. It was a great minute's applause for Sir Tom Farmer, as I said. That's slightly delayed. We then had quite a bit of added time at the end of the first half due to that VAR check, or those VAR checks I should say, of the Raskin ghost goal and the Bowie goal. So no sign of us kicking off yet in the second half, and no sign of changes, but I'll keep you updated.
It's not really been played at an end of season meaningless game pace, to be fair, is it?
No, not at all, and it just really echoes. I spoke before the game, about the strength of the two teams, and I'd spoken to Chris Cadden before the game, and I think both managers are very keen to win the football game. It's not that sort of end of season parade where there's kids getting thrown on, and it's played at a lower tempo. This is a proper Premiership football match between the third best team in the country and the second best team in the country, and I expect them to go for it in the second half. Rangers may feel a degree of injustice, if you like, after that goal being disallowed or not given in the first place, so interesting to see how they come back out. But Hibs, they really do, they have a great threat on the counter-attack. The pace of Martin Boyle, the movement of Kieran Bowie, Junior Hoylett's just in there, Canadian Junior Hoylett is just in there, Gordon, and they too will fancy their chances of finishing here with a win. It's all to play for. Really looking forward to this second 45 minutes.
Is there any elements of the performance that Barry Ferguson would look for? Inevitably, this is Scotland and Glasgow in particular, and everyone will just talk about injustice, but other bits that he felt maybe his team could have done a bit better in the first half.
I think they probably have defended the goal a little bit better, as we said a few minutes ago. I don't really link the two things, that they're asking goal not given and then the Hibs goal. I don't think Rangers were caught in their heels at all. They just didn't defend it particularly well. There are changes at the back. That was the enforcement. Robin Proper for Leon Balogun after 10 minutes. There's no Jefty today. Nana Castle-Wero's in at left back, and he's actually playing quite well, but they'll be disappointed to have lost that goal. Jack Burton's had a couple of routine saves to make, nothing out of the ordinary, whereas at the other end there's been a couple of decent saves by Jordan Smith, albeit he had an absolute howler for the Rangers opening goal after 2 minutes.
And would that be your guess that would be the final act in a Rangers shirt for Leon Balogun? Bit of a sad way to bow out with an early injury, if that is the case.
You know something, I don't know. Leon Balogun has really enjoyed his time at Rangers. I think Leon Balogun really enjoys his time in Glasgow. I think he's quite settled. He was really keen to come back when the opportunity arose. And listen, the next Rangers manager might just agree with what Mark said in the first half. Leon Balogun, I don't think his salary will break the bank. I think he's the type of player who'd be happy to be a fourth or a fifth choice centre back next season. It wouldn't surprise me. I think Mark Wilson's talking a good deal of sense here. I think maybe a deal could be done and Leon Balogun could return just as a squad man next season.
Okay, we'll get the second half started at Easter Road. Celtic's biggest chance of the game so far, Mark Wilson. They almost conspired to turn it into not much of a chance. It was Kuhn got in behind, he pulled it back when maybe he could have got the shot away. Then Bernardo was sort of stuck under his feet and ended up somehow not getting a shot on goal. But it does still remain a really big chance, that, for Celtic.
Oh, without doubt, it was well constructed. Greg Taylor, brilliant pass into Ida, drives forward, nice little pass through to Kuhn, and he does well, but it just gets caught under Bernardo's feet. He can't quite get that touch to take out. He's only about 7 yards out as well, and the St Mirren backline just crowd him out. But much better from Celtic.
Yeah, I agree with Mark there. That was their best chance of the game. A good counter attack. Kuhn bags of pace. Always look to come in the left foot. I thought the St Mirren player ran a little bit of a risk sliding in. If Kuhn goes down, I think there's a big penalty call for Celtic, but he decided to stay on his feet. He fancied it, but it came to nothing.
And yet,
goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Celtic 0, St Mirren 1. Up the other end, Jonah Ayunga sweeps one into the bottom corner, silences the crowd, and Stephen Robinson's side have the lead in Glasgow.
The party has been pooped by St Mirren, and it might be the best thing that happened to Celtic, because they've had that chance which they squandered. St Mirren have scored at the other end. There were times when I thought the crowd might have to be wakened up for the title party winning celebration, but now Celtic surely don't want title winning day to end in an anticlimax on the park. So I think you'll find that galvanised Celtic approaching it now, but they might have to change personnel in order to do that. James Forrest, nice tifo celebration of the player from the Celtic supporters. Forrest, Yang, whoever, and I'm afraid, call me cliched, but they should get Ida off the park and get Maeda through the middle.
Yeah, I've got to say, I'll be disappointed. It comes from a free kick. They've just played a ball into the box. Scales, for me, wins the header but doesn't deal with it the way he should. But take nothing away from the finish, it's a terrific finish. And I think that, you know, the way St Mirren have set up in this game, you can't argue against them. They've been excellent.
Yeah, really good from St Mirren. Great touch and finish from a young guy. Well worked in terms of letting Gogic attack it and him just dropping off. I think Celtic, I think Daz is right. Scales should probably do better with the header, but I think there should be a better reaction. Maybe Taylor is just a bit slow to react to get out there and block the shot. But well done, St Mirren. I mean, it's hardly like they've been backs to the wall in this game and defending for their lives. It's been pretty comfortable for them, although Celtic have had the majority of possession. That's all it takes. One set piece opportunity. They're a big physical side and they've made Celtic pay.
Well, you're looking at 52 plus on the clock, and the St Mirren goalkeeper's not really been called out of action.
But then this is what I said about that previous chance. So this is why I sometimes think we get hung up on like the shots on target. The opportunity that Celtic pass up there is much better than a routine save that the St Mirren goalkeeper makes.
Yeah,
do you know
but to be fair, St Mirren get numbers back very quickly. It was a good opportunity. I think Kuhn would be disappointed. Bernardo gets the ball stuck under his feet. But I just think it's down to the desire of this St Mirren team. They fancy this today. They've got to watch now. You know what's going to happen after you score the goal. You tend to get a little bit ahead of yourself. You've just got to concentrate, because if Celtic score, then you're all of a sudden back in problems.
I was going to say Hugh is about to get his way, but I don't know if that is wholly accurate, because Yang is coming on, but so are Forrest and McCowan, so you might well get the reshuffle and attack that you were sort of calling for.
Yeah.
But it'll come at a price for you. Yang coming on, and James Forrest, will he get his goal today?
Forrest was absolutely outstanding at Pittodrie in midweek. He terrorised Aberdeen. Yang, he likes St Mirren. His last performance against St Mirren and Paisley was outstanding. Scored 2 goals, made one for Dalziel Maeda. Nicholas Kuhn is coming off.
Kuhn, Bernardo and Ida off.
Yeah.
Doesn't look happy, does he?
No.
Kuhn, you know, he's got
but he's done nothing. So
he's
he's got
the shaking of the head. You know, he's jogging off there.
It's quite early, isn't it? Is that a little bit of a jag from Brendan Rodgers, Mark? Because teams always make subs at 50. He's planned that as soon as the goal, kind of 52, 53 minutes.
I do think he's seen enough of these wide players and thought, you know what, I wouldn't be surprised if he gave them a wee jab at half time and said, let's see you pick up this performance. And I don't think they have in the early stages of this half. You obviously fall then behind and think, well, you know what, I'm not standing for this, let's just change it and introduce a wee bit of freshness. James Forrest deserves his place on the pitch. This isn't about sentimentality, this is about he deserves his place after his performance at Pittodrie, so maybe he can spark a bit of life in Celtic at the top
Mark,
end.
you'll know better. Do you think that's always been his game plan for the changes? Because last Saturday he named the team on the Wednesday night. He's obviously had a plan today to use his substitutions. Is it because they've lost the goal, or was it always going to be that game plan for the cup final?
Maybe,
Feels
but I still
early,
think there's an element of the performance in there as well. That he's looking at Kuhn and Bernardo and thinking, no, he's not giving enough.
So what we're looking at now for 35 minutes, if one of these guys, do you think they can play themselves in the cup final team?
Well, Goal Flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Hibs 1, Rangers 2, and it's Nicholas Raskin. It's another glancing header from a James Tavernier corner. He's making that a bit of a habit now in the closing stages of the season. He's also turning into somewhat of a goal-scoring midfielder under Barry Ferguson, and Rangers have been on top and get the lead.
Well, the Celtic crowd came for a party and were probably thinking Hibs will beat Rangers as well to add to their excitement, but it's all gone wrong. And I do think the triple substitution was made in response to the first half and what was going on. As I said earlier, you were in danger of having to waken the crowd up.
Has to be
the party celebrations.
Because if you've got a plan in mind, about certain game time, surely either make the change at half time or it's no one's getting 52 minutes.
It's quite odd, yeah, it's quite an odd time,
because it's almost a waste of time coming back out after the break, isn't it?
Yeah, and there certainly seems to be an up in the tempo here for us already in the mix. He's only been on for a couple of minutes, put 2 great balls across the face. He's a guy in form at the minute, James Forrest. And to answer your question, I think James Forrest would be the one that could be up for consideration for the cup final.
Yeah, that's why you're in the dugout, son. I totally agree with you. I thought Forrest the other night against Aberdeen was excellent. You know, Shinnie playing at left back, he left them for dead number of times. So I think James Forrest could be the surprise one, maybe next Saturday.
In the game at Easter Road, Gordon, what do you make of Nicholas Raskin scoring again? That'll be his second game in succession, of course. That'll be his third since the end of April there. He obviously got the high profile one against Celtic, because it's something that was wildly lacking from him in his opening probably period as a Rangers player. It was so obvious that he had to add that, and now seems to be.
Yeah, there was 2 things for me we're asking. I think what changed, I thought he was just an ordinary middle of the park player. When he became the captain for that short period, I thought he took the responsibility on brilliantly. He then gets a call up to the international squad. That gives him a lift. He's now starting to add goals. He's creating goals. He's became the all-round midfielder for me, and he's finished the season in such a high. He's a big player going forward for Rangers.
Because Marky always was very good at breaking up play, intercepting, tackling, nicking the ball. If he can add real creativity or goals and assists to that, that's when you become a proper either a proper contributor or a proper asset to move on.
Well, proper asset, because let's be honest, that's what Scotland is, and his value then increases with goals and assists. He's been absolutely terrific for Rangers, and around about New Year or something like that, I had him in a kind of team of the year at that stage because he's defensive duties, but he's now added the goals, which certainly cements his place in team of the year. It's always an interesting way of working when a manager like Ferguson comes in and all of a sudden the player just takes on a different role. Is it down to the manager giving them that freedom, that responsibility into the box?
You've all said you don't expect Barry Ferguson to get the job. Obviously don't think overall history will look at the results Barry Ferguson's got and say that they were brilliant, but is that one of the main sort of feathers in his cap? He's clearly had a positive impact on Nicholas Raskin.
100%. I think he's got to take a bit of credit. He's let him off the leash, basically telling them, listen, you're not just a sitting midfield player that breaks up the play. You've got to add more to your game. If you're going to be a top player, you've got to be able to create chances, score goals, and that's what he's doing.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Equaliser Dundee United. It's Declan Gallagher, one of those who will be leaving the club after today. Louis Molt's just come on, he also leaving Dundee United, but they are level now at home. It was 6-yard header, Glenn Middleton's cross, and it is level.
It was nice for Declan Gallagher, last day at work at Tannadice, and there's obviously scope now for either side there to snatch a winner. Injury problem for Celtic there.
Was that Engels?
Yeah,
I went down there, and that is the interesting thing. You know, when you pick such a strong side the week before the cup final, with it in your mind that Rio Hatate's just been injured, of course you want your players to be sharp and ready to go and laser focus, but you also run the risk of one just picking up a little niggle. Engels is back on his feet right enough.
It looks as if Celtic could play all day and not score
as it goes. Just about to.
You were hoping there.
I certainly was.
You could say that you were hoping not then.
Yeah.
Got to say, St Mirren, the amount of bodies they've got back, defend their box brilliantly. It is hard to get in behind them, and a lot of what Celtic's doing is in front of them, 1 and 2 touch. But well done, St Mirren, because that's not an easy shift in that heat at Celtic Park. Big pitch, lots of gaps to fill, but they're doing it very well.
Yeah, Killian Phillips called up this week to the Republic of Ireland squad, of course. He's putting in some shift, as he has done ever since moving to Stephen Robinson's side.
Gordon, I don't like to pull you. Have we got a second half teaser, or have I missed that?
No, you've not missed it.
Alright, okay.
Just very late. Anyway, let's do it, Hugh.
The second half teaser
with the ScottishSun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
I have played for Morton and Swansea City. I've been managed by Gordon Strachan and Steve Cooper. I started my career in the west of Scotland and have one international cap to my name. Who am I? So I played for Morton and Swansea, was managed by Gordon Strachan and Steve Cooper, started my career in the west of Scotland and have one international cap to my name. Who am I?
Good question. At Clyde SSB. Let's get cracking on that one. The final Who Am I of the season. Let's see who can win the race. At Clyde SSB. Come up with a name, send us a tweet, beat everyone else to it. That's the aim of the game. You, Gordon Dalziel, have been wonderful at these all season. Sometimes you cheat, sometimes you don't, and you've been pretty good. Any clues on this one?
No, I'm probably have to take a bit more information in.
Okay, triple change for Hibs. Campbell, Gale and Mariah Welsh on. Liam Scales took a sore 1 mark for Celtic.
Wow,
did he?
yeah, he certainly did. I don't think it was intentional, but just as a striker jumps for leverage, his arm certainly goes back and it catches Scales right in the eye. But he's up, he's had treatment, he's up and ready to go again, but a real sore one.
Well, Celtic get half an hour now, less than. I'm sure they don't want to have the title winning celebrations come after a home defeat. Very few of those over the season, but you have to compliment St Mirren. They have done their jobs magnificently, and if they were to get a second goal, I think it would be game, set and match.
Aberdeen years ago, was it 2016 or 17 or something? I was at the game, came to Celtic Park, 1-1-0. It's a bit of a strange finish.
Well, most strange you say. That was the result, of course, that allowed Aberdeen to finish above Rangers.
That's right.
You like a good theory on here, don't we, in this part of the world?
And you're going to have plenty before 4 o'clock.
I can imagine. Rangers are in front at Easter Road. Celtic are behind at Celtic Park, and not showing any real signs, as you said, in terms of chances. But also, Gordon, it is fine margins at times, isn't it? The balance of play doesn't necessarily need to change. You just need someone in St Mirren ranks to switch off, which they haven't done, or a ball to fall a certain way when Celtic get forward, and we know these things can change quickly.
Yeah, but you've got to say St Mirren doing a lot of hard work. It is warm out there. The heat will be taken out of them. They're chasing the ball most of the time. But the one thing you know about this guy's teams, they're well organised. They know their jobs, and if they don't switch off, they're making it very difficult for Celtic to break them down.
This could be interesting. A penalty, Dundee United.
Yes. Told you, boys.
Palaversa fouled Strain. And
that's a great ball.
It's a sitter. It is an absolute sitter from the player of the season. He's won in every category. Daisen Maeda, he is 2 yards out. It's a header, an open goal. He's under the bar, and he somehow heads it over. That is incredible. What a miss from a player who's done very little wrong this season.
What a ball from James Forrest. How do you miss that? That's actually harder to do. That's a skill in its own to get it over the bar. But I said that when the substitutions come on. See Forrest for me now. He's looking as sharp as I've ever seen him. Great wing play, but Daisen Maeda.
Well, I said to you earlier on, Celtic look as if they could play all day and not score, and that is evidence. It might just be one of those days where you just have to suck it up, because it's labour intensive, and when the big chance presented itself, it was squandered. So might just be one of those days.
I've got to agree with James Forrest. Since he's come on, he's had about 3 or 4 balls across the face, but that one's the pick of the bunch. A striker's dream. Just stood up 3 yards out. I don't know how Maeda's missed that.
That's the one I missed at Hampden.
What you did?
The exact same for Rangers in the semi-final of, I think it was the Scottish Cup.
With M&D Green Pharmacy.
Goal, Sandalby. He's maybe tailed off slightly in the goal scoring, but he's picked one up from the spot today. Sends a keeper the wrong way, and all of a sudden Aberdeen are trailing at Tannadice
and on their way to 4 straight defeats, unless they're careful. James Forrest again.
From Forrest again. He looks electric in that right hand side. Again, I think Engel should do better there.
I thought he was excellent Wednesday night.
Oh yeah,
I can listen. I know the boys. We all agreed that that's the cup final team unless there are injuries or something happens. But I think Forrest would probably be right in the Brendan Rodgers' mind just now. Look at him. everything he's doing is so positive. Brilliant wing play from him.
The only way he could put the icing on the cake here is to score that goal.
Yeah.
Because at this moment Celtic would settle for a draw, because they've puffed.
See if that's cramp in the end of May. I will not be having that.
Declan John,
I will not be having if this is a cramp stretch.
Why not?
Because no footballer should be having cramp at the end of May.
In a long hard season.
Not forget that.
Every one of your players have been getting cramp for the last 3 games, by the way. Not even joking.
Sports scientists everywhere telling Gordon Dalziel he's talking rubbish on
No,
that.
they're not.
Sure.
No, they're not. I don't care what they say. You should not.
So you can't get cramp. By the way, I think it's more than that. I think he's injured. But you can't get cramp at the end of a season.
It's 66 minutes on the clock.
Okay.
And the last game of the season, when you're playing all the time.
They're saying to the bench he's finished, his game's over.
Finished, his cramp's too bad.
His cramp, yeah. God.
We've had this conversation before. I very rarely got cramp. Did you?
I never ran enough to get cramp.
Big chance Rangers there to make it 3-1, but in the end it's snuffed out by a combination of Jordan Smith and his defence.
Funny, as things stand, Aberdeen will be 5th in the table tonight, having lost 4 games on the bounce as they approach a cup final against Celtic. Jimmy Tillene's a myth for me.
Yeah, but that's what we did say, that there are fine margins at this point in the season. Almost like 4th is fine. Let's be honest, 4th in a cup final is perfectly fine for Aberdeen, and especially in your first season. And yet 5th just looks so much worse. And that's just
in comparison.
That's also the way
isn't
they're finishing it. They've lost a lot of goals. You know what I mean? They're easy to score against Aberdeen.
And the thing is as well, like Fraser was saying, he didn't see it coming at all. Fraser, they were fine and in control. Molt's now been denied by Mitov as well, so if anything it's the home side that have got their tails up. Here goes James Forrest. He just can't find the space to get the shot away and try and get that goal.
St Mirren have defended amazingly well.
And this is what we keep hammering the point. We do this a lot. I'm not saying you absolve Celtic from blame here. Of course they've not been at their best, but if there is a team that can take advantage of those days and make life extra hard for you, it is St Mirren. It's not easy to do what they're doing. Because we've seen it.
No,
teams always come and try and sit back against Celtic, and it very rarely works. But it works if you're as
it's organised, and Daz touched on it earlier. Stephen Robinson's teams are organised, but everybody knows their jobs and which positions to fill. They know the positions Celtic try and drag you in, and every time the ball gets to that touchline, and Celtic have been in there a fair few times, when that cutback comes, there's a St Mirren player on the end of it. Again, that's by design. It's not just by luck or coincidence. And how many other teams do we see go to Celtic Park and everybody rushes back towards the goal line and it's cut back in the score? So in 70 minutes St Mirren have avoided that. They've done great today. Well done,
It's the
Stephen
last Saturday of the league season. It's the last time the 4 of us will be in this studio together this season. Let me do it one more time.
Go.
Celtic won't score today.
Oh, why not? I mean, the good thing is if you do it 38 times,
you might get it right once.
Get one right. So this could be the day.
I sort of disagree with you. I think Celtic will score. I think as the time goes on, St Mirren players, they're working very hard, but I think Celtic will get the quality to open you up, especially if they can get the ball to Forrest.
Johnny Kenny's going to come on. Got his goal during the week, didn't he?
Must be for Maeda then. Yeah, it was a good goal as well. Good header, good ball in, good centre forward play. Gets in front of the defender, nice header. Does the boy all the confidence in the world. So he'll be desperate to go on and add to that goal from Wednesday night.
You wonder what the future holds for him.
Another
great ball.
Young, what is he doing?
Oh, wow. And maybe that's why Kenny's coming on. Brendan Rodgers, obviously recognises that James Forrest just put ball after ball into the box, and if you've got a goal scorer like Kenny, and he's proved it at our club, then get him on, because that's what you strive for with
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
New contract and another goal for Martin Boyle. It's Hibs 2, Rangers 2, cross in, bullet header, and that takes him to 99 goals for Hibs. He could even make the 100 before the end of the afternoon, but just a wonderful contribution this season and a good game at Easter Road.
Is 2-2 a high scoring draw, Daz?
I would say so.
Yeah,
well done, Dazzler.
I think you've got to take that. I knew there'd be goals there. Two teams that will go for it this afternoon, give up chances, attacking football. So Rodgers having a real good day at Easter Road.
Yeah, brilliant afternoon at Easter Road by the sounds of it. Martin Boyle, what a player for Hibs. Slightly surprised that they let it boiled into this close to the end of the season.
Boiled down, I like
it.
Yeah, I like that before awarding him a contract.
Well, Dazzler does it again. Maeda is the one taking off for Johnny Kenny.
Yeah, is that just a case of...
Yeah, for next week, guaranteed.
Next week.
This is good for the boy. You know, he's coming on that pitch. He's got his goal. He's got that sort of monkey off his back. He wanted to score. He's a centre forward. They got it against Aberdeen. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts to. I know it's only next week with the cup final, but next year start to play a bigger part.
Oh, there's a Forrest. No, it's not. It's McCowan. No, I thought it was. Forrest was in the bit there.
He was there just floating around.
By the way, I was going to say, what does the future hold for Kenny? What does it look like? Is he going to get meaningful game time next year?
He, I believe, was going out on loan until Kyogo left. So that, you know, obviously things do change and the pecking order changes. I think he was fairly close. I think there were certainly some clubs not too far from here that would have been interested and thought they maybe had a chance. But once Kyogo leaves, you come up the pecking order. But you then it's still bound to be difficult with the players that are in front of him.
Well, without doubt, and Celtic have got the kitty, and it's at that area of the pitch that they do strengthen. So it's going to be hard. So maybe it's right, you know, going on to someone in this league just to see how he cuts it for 6 months, a year, and then that'll do Celtic future no harm.
See, me personally, I would stay at Celtic and take my chances off the bench.
But you like cutting a bit with the tracksuit and the suit on, didn't you, and being connected with a big club.
Yeah, and
doing the minimal work,
turning up with the blazer, sitting on the bench and saying, right, stick me on for 5, I got my appearance money, my bonus. Happy days, good night, nurse.
James Forrest now switched wings, which is interesting because he was doing very well down the right hand side, wasn't he?
I think Celtic have run out of ideas. They just one blind alley after another.
Baffles me a little bit, that. I thought Forrest he was on fire, and all of a sudden they switch over. But sometimes wingers decide that that's what they want to do. Young maybe thinking, I'm not seeing enough of the ball on the left hand side, give me a wee shot over there, I'll go and see what I can do, and Forrest can mix it up on the left hand side. And the one thing he likes is cutting in on that right foot, and that's where he'll fancy his chance to get the goal, probably.
He's still scored a lot from the left side, though, hasn't he? He's almost good at that, either finishing with his left, or he quite likes the outside of the right foot, doesn't he, Mark, into that bottom corner. But Celtic are putting balls in the box, not coming to much, and ultimately they had their chance. My goodness, Dalziel Maeda is as bad a miss as you'll see, never mind from someone of his goal scoring capabilities this season.
I would throw the fact that I think Young's not as bad as Maeda's, but I think Young's got to anticipate that ball and put the ball in the back of net. But Maeda will be sitting on that in the dugout thinking, how did I miss that?
Hugh, give us your teaser please again.
Okay, who am I? I played for Morton and Swansea City. I was managed by Gordon Strachan and Steve Cooper. I started my career in the west of Scotland, and I have one international cap to my name.
Quite a few people, Rogue Hart and Jim Ban 96 etc, all think Stephen Dobie.
No.
What else have we got coming in that could be wrong here? Joe Nellis thinks Gary O'Connor.
No.
Okay, keep your guesses coming at Clyde SSB. That is the number that you need. So give us a shout, not the number, the handle that you need. Give us a shout if you think you've got it.
The handle, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
That's the old CB radio, is it though? When you get a handle, what's your handle?
Yeah.
A Twitter handle, an X handle.
Were you into that? CB radios when you were growing up? I knew you would be.
Yeah, I liked a bit of CB.
You ever into that, Gordon? You never do that?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, the CB radio that you used to, and you could hear the truckers or hear the police stuff.
No, all it makes me think of is that scene in American Pie 2 when they get their frequencies crossed. You not know what I'm talking about?
Aye.
Right, okay.
It's kind of like that.
That's a bit more up your street.
Great. Oh,
yeah. A few child lines on there. Roger and out.
I bet you were.
You're not familiar with the scene I'm talking about?
No.
Oh, you'd really like it. That's all I'm going to say to you. Yeah,
okay.
you really, really would like it.
I like that.
Anyway, 76 gone. Oh, there was a chance there for Celtic getting behind. I think it was Arne Engels just overcomplicated it.
They're actually going from bad to worse now. They've tried everything. They've run out of ideas, and they're now just going from bad to worse. So, what I said earlier,
sticking by it here.
Yeah, they will not score today.
What do you think, Mark?
Certainly got plenty of territory. I think yes, they'll nick one. I don't think they'll get one. I think they'll get a draw out of this. Just with the amount of territory they've got round about the St Mirren box, and it's coming time and time again. More concentrated in that area. Yang and Forrest certainly look lively. Alistair Johnson though skies that one and gets into a good area just at the touchline. Skies it. Certainly need better quality than that if you're going to get a goal.
Told you, bad to worse.
Oh, Brendan Rodgers just, I think, switching him over again, putting Forrest over one side and Yang, by the looks of it, over on this left side again.
Hibs had been enjoying a bit of a better spell there. Dessers fires over from the edge of the box, so we may well get a winner in that one. It's been nice and open. Goals at both ends, bit of controversy as well. That's good, always keeps us ticking along.
Can't wait for 2:30 when the phone line's open.
And sorry, hold on, just keep your theories about Rangers refereeing for a second, because we need to go to Celtic Park where they're about to lift the trophy. That'll be a good mix, that one. That'll be a fitting way to round off this season.
Well, this is Planet Scotland.
Of course it is. Aye, he says with tongue in cheek.
Now Gogic has gone down.
What are you going to say about him?
Talking to him yesterday at school.
If he's got cramp?
He doesn't take cramp. He took an injury there. Good lad, I really like him. He got on very well with him.
Get on very well with him.
Yeah, good chats. Maybe
30 seconds of small talk once a week at the school gates.
Maybe catch up for a few.
Get on well with them.
A few cups of coffee and a croissant.
Strange, very, very strange. Don't forget, we've also got the League 2 playoff today. Bonnyrigg Rose against East Kilbride.
How's it going?
Well, it's not started yet, but
that's right, it's 12 o'clock.
Keep you up to speed. Always a really interesting one, just to see who the final team in the SPFL will be for next season. East Kilbride leading that tie by 3-1, but heading to Bonnyrigg today. How do you see that one panning out?
I fancy East Kilbride strongly. 3-1. It'll just be interesting to see if they go with that attacking flair to say, right, the next goal, if we get it, the tie is put to bed, rather than sit in and try and defend and then you lose a goal and put yourself under a little bit of pressure. I fancy East Kilbride to eventually, and I would love to see them come up to the Scottish League 2. Love to see them.
I'm not sure it's Daz. I think, like us last night, first goal is going to be crucial in that. The pitch is the interesting thing. You know,
you been there, Mark?
No, but I've heard a lot about it. So
there you go then.
Yeah,
there's an interesting change for Celtic. Jeffrey Schlupp on for Arne Engels, which means Greg Taylor into midfield.
Yeah, I think he'd be used to that, especially
he hangs around there a lot.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be foreign to him.
Brendan Rodgers has looked and thought everything that can go wrong is going wrong. So Mirren look a better bet to make it 2-0.
I suppose though
they've got a runner here.
You've got, if there's no Rio Hatate, you're one midfield option down, Gordon, and that's why then you would maybe do what he's done there with that change.
Yeah, I agree with the lads. I think Taylor getting in there, he's comfortable, he knows how to play that position. Stephen Robinson obviously looking at his bench now, going to use his substitutions. It looks like a little bit of a defensive substitution, looking at the clock, thinking we're quite happy to hold on to 1-0 here and let's see if Celtic can break us down.
Big lads, aren't they? St Mirren players.
Compiled
a big squad. When you ask Stephen Robinson about what's his profile like for a player coming in, 6'2".
Yeah, but
good at bicep curls in the gym.
Many pull-ups can you do, mate?
You're in.
Ambrose and Dabag on for Aberdeen as they try and find an equaliser there at Tannadice. Nisbet and McGrath off McGrath's last game, of course, heading to Hibs, isn't he? In the summer.
That would be an amazing result. I know you're making a joke about Jim being my pal in Dundee United, but an amazing result again to finish the season like that when it's real, something real at stake as well, and to turn it round from 1-0 down. Listen to that Aberdeen squad, some of the changes they've made, much better than Dundee United's, no doubt on paper.
Was you invited to your wedding?
He'll be there.
There you go.
No.
It's been pretty awkward if the answer was no.
Yeah,
there,
big pal then. Don't worry, Jim, I've got your back on Super Scoreboard.
Another mistake from Scales. Let's St Mirren in.
Yeah, a bit of space for St Mirren, but they can't really come forward and end up have to go back to their halfway line. Done quite well though to get one down the line, and if they can score here, it would be done, you would have to imagine.
Well, we slooped there as the ball comes across. I mean,
brilliant.
Straight at Kasper
Yeah,
Schmeichel.
great turn.
I think
Takes
that,
two Celtic players out of the equation.
that one piece of inactivity from Jeff Schlupp there proves why he won't be kept on for next season.
He looked like he just didn't care there, did he?
He looks lazy, doesn't he?
Is that not the old try to get up to the speed of the game when you come on as a sub?
That's as we say in the game, yeah. But he's got to do better there.
Yeah, he looked a bit lackadaisical, but still 1-0 at the moment. Celtic searching for that equaliser and not really searching too hard at the moment.
No, I just said, as I said, I keep on saying they've run out of ideas. They've tried everything. They've moved players about, they've changed personnel, done everything. No nearer to an equaliser.
Also, if you're not at your best mark and you are against a stubborn opponent, you cannot pass up the type of chance that Daisen Maeda did, because if he scores that, we're then not talking about running out of ideas or making this change or that change. It was verging on inexplicable from the guy who'll add the Football Writers Award to all these other awards tomorrow night.
Yeah, exactly. When you come up against a five like St Mirren, robust, big, hard to break down, and you create a chance like that, you really have to take it. It just changes the full outcome of the last 15 minutes of the game and how that looks. So that will be the frustration from Brendan Rodgers. I think he made the changes and he got the balls into the box that he required, but not a finish.
I know we get hung up on obviously the big calls as the way we should, but isn't it unbelievable how referees still fall for defenders throwing themselves to the ground when they're up against their own corner flag? Like, it has happened in every game, in every league, every season for as long as you can remember, and they still fall for it. Why?
It falls into the same bracket as the goalkeepers at corner kicks. That kind of bracket. They really need to just clamp down on it. Stop giving fouls for it.
And it was more of a general point. This one in isolation's not too offensive. It was Marcus Fraser went down because he felt Yang behind him. But all you have to do is just watch any game and you can sort of see it happening.
Exactly.
But anyway, off my high horse for a second on that. Celtic nil, St Mirren 184 gone. We're a bit behind at Easter Road, I think, because we had all the delays. Levitt on for Triantis, a standing ovation, says Roger Hanna. He's just trying to underline why he's in there.
Calm down, Roger.
Why he was in the shortlist.
Even
for that
David
award
Friel at
tomorrow.
Celtic Park standing clapping him.
A quick reminder of the teaser, Hugh. We'll maybe give it another 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, I played for Morton and Swansea City. I've been managed by Gordon Strachan and Steve Cooper. I started my career in the west of Scotland, and I have one international cap to my name. Who am I?
Some of you are getting it now. Gordon Dale's even got it, so that tells
Mark's
you
got it as well.
How easy it is there. Still some coming in for the names we mentioned before, like Stephen Dobie. Jamie Dock thought it might be him. David thought it's the man who was there for St Mirren, Declan John.
No,
okay.
Can I give a clue out?
If you must.
I coached him.
Oh,
as
great,
well.
yeah, that works. Everybody will get it off that.
Yep.
Well, Carter
Oh,
Vickers
dear
gets
me.
himself in a little bit of bother. He didn't see the St Mirren player bursting forward. But anyway, it doesn't really come to much, because back towards the halfway line.
This is the worst that Celtic have played since that day against St Johnstone when they lost 1-0.
Johnny Kenny's and Johnny Kenny's through, but it's at a very tight angle and he sees his shot saved twice. Zach Hemming, well done. Celtic have been far from their best, but they have had big chances now to score in this game.
I thought Gogic done brilliant there. I thought he'd done enough to put him off. I thought he was away from him.
He was trying to rugby tackle, I think, at one stage.
He sort of nudged him a little bit to the side and made the angle very hard, but it was good play, good
pace, yeah.
Blitzed him, yeah.
Celtic going to take the corner short. They've tried to be creative today. I think they recognise the size of some of the players in there. Callum McGregor looks to flight one. A good save again. There's a series of chances now for Celtic. The offside flag didn't go up, so the corner will stand.
For me, Yang's got to do better.
Effort.
He's got to do better here, Yang, isn't he?
Even with acrobatics.
You've got to do better there.
I know it's a hard one. I'm with you, Daz.
Got to do better.
I think when you're
That's one as a kid you practice on your bed. You know what I mean? The scissor kick type thing. He's got to do better for me.
Corner goes all the way to the penalty spot. Callum McGregor thought about it, then realised it was his right foot from outside the box. And
what about pressure building at
back.
the right time?
Callum McGregor again, he tries to flight it rather than shoot, and it's nodded away in the nick of time. Then it's blocked.
Great defending from St Mirren.
Yeah, Celtic are knocking on the door here, but St Mirren defend so well.
So many bodies in about that 6-yard box. It's hard for even any Celtic player to get in between them.
It's like a training routine now, isn't it? Defence just throwing their bodies in the line at everything as a yellow card is being brandished. Fraser there.
Yep. Well, Celtic can't say they didn't have chances. There were plenty of chances, scorned all of them. St Mirren have defended admirably. So if St Mirren win the match, Celtic can have no complaints.
Look, McCowan's corner again. Hemming doesn't get that, but he's bailed out by his defence. The touch is taken off the toe of Forrest.
That's good play.
It's a good foot race.
McGregor, that's a free kick.
He might have let go just in time, but he won't get away with that one. Callum McGregor.
He's gone. This could be brilliant.
Idowu runs the full length of the pitch and is fouled about 4 times by Callum McGregor, but still manages to just keep going.
That's fantastic play. That's exactly what you want from your front man. Relieves the pressure, but also gets your team right up the pitch.
Well, Johnny Kenny still ruining that. Can you call it a miss? The goalkeeper's actually done very well.
Yeah, it's just a
Johnny
half chance.
Kenny did well.
He's at such a tight angle, isn't he, Gordon? Somewhere in between. Can you get a 3/4 chance? Because it's more than what I described it as there. But it's not like you're not holding that against Johnny Kenny.
Not at all. I think if he scores, you'll go, what a brilliant goal. But you would also say your goalkeeper shouldn't be beat from that angle.
Yeah.
So he got it in target. He was unlucky. It was good play for him, good pace, but he was just at a bad angle. He had Celtic breakaway now.
They've been breaking away all day. It always comes to the same end.
Brilliant from St Mirren as well. I think that's the difference, though. Like we said, how physically capable St Mirren are.
Yeah.
A strange Celtic breakaway, Hugh.
Yeah.
Here it's here.
James Forrest. Jeffrey Schlupp looks very lackadaisical again. And it goes over the bar.
What is he thinking there?
He's tried to almost slow down to just let it roll perfectly into his path, but if he just really goes and meets it, I think he gets a clear shot on goal from inside the box.
He's got to get his shot off quicker, and he's got to lace that. A brilliant play for James Forrest.
What's strange about it, we've seen already, he's got a good strike on him.
God, but he just looked like he had no urgency to go onto that ball.
No confidence striking it cleanly as well. Very tentative.
Actually fancied him to score there. That was strange from him.
He's got to do better. He's set up there. There's no urgency about that at all for me.
He can definitely wave to the crowd after the final whistle because they won't see him again.
And it was a favourite when he started out. Everybody thought that it would have been him and Tierney.
Amazing to think he started away at Bayern Munich.
Chance for Celtic at the back post, but Liam, a right-footed bouncing ball for Liam Scales is unlikely to end the way Celtic fans want it to, and it goes way wide in the end.
Play all day.
Could be right on this occasion, Hugh. When was the last time Celtic lost at home without scoring?
A goal.
Long time. But yeah, they've had chances certainly at the end of this, and sometimes it's not your day.
I've got to say, right, we're giving a wee bit stick for it, but what a ball that is. Yeah. Brilliant defensive.
5 minutes
just the
added.
desire, just the hunger to say we're winning 1-0. It's a big result for us. I'm going to throw my body in the line here.
5 minutes added at Celtic Park. Let's finish this, Hugh, while we can.
The second half teaser
with the ScottishSun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
I have played for Morton and Swansea. I have been managed by Gordon Strachan and Steve Cooper. I started my career in the west of Scotland and I have one international cap to my name. I'm Barry Mackay.
Barry Mackay, well done if you got it right, and lots of you did. Incredible effort. Stephanie Hutchison was in third place, Callum Nelson in second, and Emma Smith was the winner. Well done to you all. Good Barry Mackay knowledge. We've got 5 added at Celtic. We've played a minute of that. Big Hibs pressure in the game at Easter Road, but we've still got a good few minutes of the 90 remaining there. That one was a good bit behind. And Dundee United leading Aberdeen by 2-1, which will be a big blow for Aberdeen's place in the table.
Well, St Mirren now looking likely to make it 2-0, I think.
Stephen Robinson, what a job. We keep saying it, but to get in the top 6 of celebrations, you're thinking, yeah, you deserve that totally. But then it's easy to think that they could have just taken their foot off the pedal and enjoyed these last 5 games, and it's been anything but that. Seems to be a greater determination to finish stronger, and this will just be the icing on the cake. To win away at Celtic Park on Trophy Day to finish your season, amazing end to the season for them.
Yeah, they've done really well today, that's for sure. Celtic will still look to get that equaliser, but they certainly, even if that is possible, which doesn't look necessarily the case, you can't see Celtic going on and winning it from here, so even going and getting the point would be a good outcome, but they would won all 3 at this stage, Gordon. They've done ever so well.
Yeah, I've got to say Celtic would snatch your hand off for a point, just to, it's a big day, it's a celebration, the families are there, the supporters are there. Take nothing away. I know it's the fact it's last game, they've been brilliant all season, but you want to finish, especially the Scottish Cup round the corner. I think that Celtic come on here.
Yeah, there's just no real support though for Johnny Kenny. Didn't really have anyone with him.
At times he's run brilliantly. Scales plays a great ball. I wonder if he could have got it down quicker, just run about the 6-yard line, had a go himself. But nobody really thought he was onside, I think, from a Celtic point of view. So everybody stopped.
Has he looked quite sharp, lively for you?
Yeah, I certainly do. I think he's showed he's capable of going in behind. Obviously his chance, that run there. Yeah, I just wonder what the future holds for him, if he will stay about like Daz says, and
it's amazing,
for an opportunity.
An amazing game. Celtic with the Pataudry, make all the changes that they did, were absolutely outstanding, scored 5 goals, and now on this day of days, nothing at all.
Alistair Johnson from the edge of the box, but passes to James Forrest.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
And for a 16th consecutive season, James Forrest scores for Celtic and pops up right when they needed him. 93.5 minutes gone. Celtic won, St Mirren won, and another chapter in the James Forrest fairy tale.
And the complexion of the day again.
Come on, Shug.
A minute and a half away, and the first thing you think is the negative. Let's get in about him. 100%. The complexion of the day changes because the draw salvages pride. The draw creates history for James Forrest, and he deserves it. And the finish, the goalkeeper, I don't know, he's very upset, but it doesn't matter. James Forrest has done what he wanted to do, and it puts a fine finish to a day in which Celtic have been miles below par.
In many ways, Mark, the result is a lot less important than the guy that scored the goal.
Yeah, that's it. Never mind the draw, never mind the result. It's about that guy getting on the pitch and the full build up to the end of the season. The story, can James Forrest get that goal? And we were chatting about if they get a penalty, would he take it? Would Brendan Rodgers be sentimental about it? But he put him on when Celtic needed a lift in the game for performance level, and he lifted the side, and then he gets a goal because he's in the right position with a clean strike. What a fairy tale ending it is for James Forrest to this season, and he's still got much more to give. And I wonder if he'll be in the cup final team next week.
There might be one final chance because it's a minimum of 5, and Celtic scored within that time, so there'll be just another opportunity here. St Mirren have so many bodies back. Schlupp slides it down the line for Yang in the box. He squares it across. It's not going to fall for a Celtic player, certainly. It's not clear yet, but James Forrest gets it nicked away. We must be nearly there. Celtic will need to make something happen very quickly. Free kick's given, so I think that will probably be that. The goalkeeper, Gordon, does he just try and read it? He thinks it's going in
the
other corner.
But I think if you're St Mirren, you're disappointed with your goalkeeper. But I think, look, it's a fairy tale ending for James Forrest. It's a brilliant strike. He's at a difficult angle and he gets his goal. And
I tell you who is a nightmare, Fraser, though, trying to clear
full time at Celtic Park. Here's David, Friel and Gabriel.
Celtic 1, St Mirren 1. James Forrest is Celtic's hero once again. A 94th minute strike, his first of the season, making it 16 consecutive campaigns with a goal, has earned Brendan Rodgers' side a point and stopped St Mirren spoiling the title party. And Rodgers' side were on top early on and seemingly in control in that first 45, but they lacked a final pass. They didn't create any clear openings and only had one shot on target. In the 51st minute, this wasn't in the script. A deep St Mirren free kick cleared not properly by Liam Scales. A touch and finish from Jonah Ayunga. He silenced the entire stadium and put the Saints in dreamland. At that point, they were up to 5th in the table and securing European football once again. Celtic were panicking and Rodgers rung the changes. Forrest came on and made an instant difference. Sensational down the right, constantly beating his man. And it looked like this was going to be some poetic injustice for player of the season, Dyson Maeda. He headed over from 3 yards, an open goal. You could hardly believe he'd missed after Forrest's excellent cross. And Celtic were huffing and puffing. Johnny Kenny had a late double effort saved by Zach Hemming. Yang should have scored from close range a few moments later, and Jeffrey Schlupp had a good chance as well that was blocked at the last second. But James Forrest, the man for all seasons here, waited right until the end. The ball passed to him, took his time and fired it low past Hemming in the final minute of stoppage time. St Mirren defended resolutely, and it's heartbreaking for them to not reach European football after this. What a performance from Stephen Robinson, another stellar season from him and his men. They gave themselves every chance and they will leave here with their heads held high. But David Friel, that was just written in the stars.
Fairy tale stuff, Gabs, fairy tale stuff. James Forrest, he's Celtic's reluctant hero. He doesn't like the spotlight, he doesn't like the limelight. This is meant to be a celebration of Celtic as a team. However, one man has taken the spotlight today, that is James Forrest. Unbelievable statistics to score in a 16th season running for Celtic, but more than that, I wonder if he's just played his way into the Scottish Cup final team to face Aberdeen next weekend. He was outstanding when he came on. Down the right, rolling back the years, he's about to turn 34, he looked 24 out there. An outstanding finish, unselfish from Alistair Johnston, but he still had work to do and he plants it beyond Zach Hemming. Celtic, full credit to St Mirren, what a performance they put in. They probably didn't deserve that finale, but Celtic knocked the door down and eventually got it through James Forrest.
Yeah, as you say, David, Celtic didn't look like they were going to score, but James Forrest, has he played his way into the cup final plans? That'll be the question that all of these fans will be thinking to ask Brendan Rodgers at full time. But first of all, it's all about the Premiership. On the pitch now, the podium just being erected. Celtic will lift this trophy in a few minutes time, Gordon. We'll let you know when that happens. But full time here at Celtic Park. Celtic 1, St Mirren 1.
Yes, stay with us for Trophy Day, Trophy Lift time at Celtic Park. So Celtic fans, give us a call as well. That's the season done and dusted. We've known you would be champions for a while. You're about to get your hands on the trophy. How does it feel? 0141 951 1025. And what about that man James Forrest? Weeks after becoming the most decorated Celtic player of all time, he scores for the 16th consecutive season. Give us a call, let us know what you make of him and today's events at Celtic Park. Let's go Easter Road full time. Roger Hannah.
Yeah, the season's over for Hibs and Rangers as well. Gordon Abernie and 2 Rangers to a fabulous finale here at Easter Road, and probably a fair share of this ball. Rangers ahead after 2 minutes. Dreadful goalkeeping by Jordan Smith. He hacked out a clearance straight to Nicholas Raskin. He headed it into the box. Cyril Dessers swiveled and knocked it into the bottom corner. He will finish as the Premiership's top goal scorer this season. Rangers should have been 2 up. Václav Černý cleaned through but denied the legs of Smith, and they thought they were 2 up after 15 minutes. Nicholas Raskin going round the goalkeeper Smith. He thought the ball had gone over the line before it was hacked clear by a grounded Rocky Bushiri. The referee in the VAR waved play on. Hibs went to the other end, and there was Martin Boyle fizzing in across for Kieran Bowie. A left foot finish past Jack Butland. That was 1-1 at the break. Rangers started brightly in the second half and we're back ahead 5 minutes into that period. James Tavernier, the skipper, an in-swinging corner with his right foot from the left, and there was Nico Raskin, a glancing header at the near post past Smith for 2-1. Rangers were good value for it at that time, but Hibs were always a threat in the break, and they levelled after 66 minutes. Nicky Cadden making progress down the left-hand side, a terrific cross to the back post, and there was Boyle just 24 hours after signing his contract extension to boom a header past Jack Butland for his 99th goal in the green and white. There were chances at both ends to win the game. Hibs thought they had a chance. Boyle again and threatening, and then Danilo twice, first denied by goalkeeper Smith, and then with the very last touch of the game from a Cyril Dessers cutback, he should have hit the target and it just sneaked past the post. It would have been hard on Hibs. They thoroughly deserved third place, as you can probably hear Easter Road resounding to Proclaimers classic Sunshine and Leaf. They will have European group stage football here next season if Aberdeen fail to win the Scottish Cup final next week. Rangers finished second, we knew that. Barry Ferguson might have his last game in charge today. It will be fascinating to hear his words on the goal that never was, and maybe on the job that never is. It's finished at Easter Road. Hibernian 2, Rangers 2.
We just leave that going for a bit, just enjoy. But I suppose this, the whole reason they're playing the song is because this is to cap off a wonderful season for Hibs.
They've done terrifically well, Gordon. You think at the start of the season, David Gray, of course, a legend for his role in the 2016 Cup win as a player. He looked under pressure and it took the Hibernian board a little bit of patience, a little bit of convincing, but they stuck with their man, and what a reward they have got. They have soared away from Dundee United, from Aberdeen, from St Mirren. They are clearly the third best team in the country. They have secured Boyle for another season. There is an enormous feel-good factor in Leith just now, and it has all come from the manager David Gray. He has done a fantastic job here, and listen, he deserves his European adventure next time.
Just have a mind just to keep that going, Hugh. That seems fair.
Yeah. I've met Craig and Charlie, lovely people. Craig and Charlie read the Premiers, and that's the song of the season, and it's marked all the special moments for Hibs, and there have been many. No trophies, but third place, Europe, and David Gray, rookie manager, first season, can look back on it with immense pride.
And it's also finished in the other game as well. Dundee United have beaten Aberdeen at Tannadice, and that means they finish fourth ahead of Aberdeen, who fall to fifth on goal difference. A remarkable end there, and well done to Jim Goodwin and everyone involved. Give us a call then, 0141 951 1025. What did you make of today, Celtic fans? How does it feel to get your hands on the trophy? What about that man James Forrest? Yet another accolade for him. Plenty of trophies in the cabinet. He's scored again. And what did you make of his contribution today? And perhaps a reflection overall on the day you get the trophy. Rangers fans, you're just happy to see the back of this season, and maybe today summed up certain elements of it where you could have won the game and defended in an interesting manner at times and conceded a couple of goals. Of course, there was a big talking point as well. You felt the ball had crossed the line. The refereeing team felt they had no conclusive evidence to absolutely prove it. I'm pretty sure lots of you will disagree. So whatever it is that's on your mind tonight, now's the time to share it. 0141 951 1025. We'll speak next.
The Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast with Trywire.com. Save like a world-class keeper. Get a great price on your next car.
What's on TV? The answer is a lot. There's never been more choice over what to put on the box, with an abundance of great new shows, but you can miss them all if you don't know where to look. And that's where the Pilot TV podcast comes in, your essential guide to every show that matters. Each week we sift through the very best in prestige TV to help you decide what's worth spending your time on and what isn't. So join me, James Dyer, as well as venerable TV critics Boyd Hilton and Kay Ribeiro, and let us help take the stress out of your downtime. The Pilot TV podcast, because you can't watch everything.
May we have your attention? Introducing the Volkswagen May sale. Get £750 on top of existing offers on the amazing Polo, the Made for Adventure T-Roc, and the electric ID4. Major. Visit your nearest Volkswagen retailer. You may just find the car you've been looking for. I said it was in May, right?
Yes.
Sale ends tomorrow, the 19th of May.
Stop it.
Search Volkswagen May sale. T's and C's apply. Retail buyers only. Order by 19th of May. Registered by 30th of August 2025. Volkswagen Finance.
You scavenged through toxic ruins amid the Astro wasteland. You rallied the resistance. Undeterred by the barreling thunder, you bartered with alien mystics for clues to the fabled quantum cloak. And all the while, you were pruning the garden. There's more to imagine when you listen. Explore new worlds with sci-fi titles on Audible. Subscription required. See audible.co.uk for terms.
The Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast with Trywire.com. Kick high prices to the curb. Drive away with huge savings. The fastest goals. The expert opinions. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Trophy day at Celtic Park. It's open line time for you as well, so let's hear from you. 01419511025. Having said that, we try and spin a lot of plates in the last game of the season, so we will do calls. We'll do as many as we can, get them in, but of course it makes sense to go back to Celtic Park as well and keep across the celebrations, because out they come, the lot of them led by captain Callum McGregor, goalkeepers Kasper Schmeichel and Viljami Sinisalo, the rest of the team that have all contributed. Even Rio Hatate's coming out on his crutches. We know that he has played his final part for this season. Nicholas Kuhn, Brendan Rodgers, the man who's going to take the acclaim on the pitch with the broadcasters at the moment, along with Callum McGregor. In fact, we could probably listen in and hear him.
Yes, Gordon, Callum McGregor just on the pitch speaking to the Celtic fans right now. McGregor getting closer to lifting his 10th league title at the club. What a record. Let's hear what he has to say.
Like I said, one more to go. You see again today, difficult game, difficult conditions, and we keep going to the end, and obviously the man's about to come out, but what a big moment again.
He is about to come out, Callum. I'm going to allow you to join your teammates, but once again, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for our captain, Callum McGregor. And of course, no trophy day is complete without the silverware itself. So it's time to welcome the man who recently secured his 26th winners' medal in the hoops. He joined the Celtic Academy at the age of 9. He served the club with distinction for over 22 years. He has an honours list of 6 League Cups, 7 Scottish Cups, and an incredible 13 league titles. Ladies and gentlemen, meet the voices heard for Celtic's most decorated player of all time. One man, one club, James Forrest!
So James Forrest is the man carrying the trophy onto the pitch. Looks almost embarrassed by it all, as you would expect. He doesn't like the fuss, he doesn't like the limelight, but listen to the way Celtic Park feels about him.
Manager Brendan Rodgers will now make a presentation to James. A special award to commemorate his achievement of becoming our most decorated player, a record that has stood for 46 years, and James now surpassing the legendary Lisbon line, Bobby Lennox.
James Forrest getting a recognition, as you heard, of his record-breaking haul as a Celtic player. Brendan Rodgers, who's contributed so much to James Forrest's career, as have other Celtic managers along the way, but of course the current one really revitalised him when he came in 2016, and then has come back for a second spell as well. As we mentioned, James Forrest almost doesn't like the fuss. You could tell he'd rather stay out of the limelight, but that's part of the charm. Let's hear from him.
The character, the personality that is James Forrest.
Well, I think today just rounded off what has been an amazing career for him here, and he still has more to give, but the ultimate professional, a real symbol for every young academy player coming through the system, that with hard work, dedication and quality you can succeed.
And James, I know you're a team player, I know you're a humble guy. You got the goal, and what a goal it was. Can you sum up the emotions of not just those last minutes, but of all these years playing for Celtic Football Club?
It's been unbelievable. I think every moment that the fans give you and playing in front of the fans away from home, at home every week is amazing, and I'm just cherishing every game I play until I finish.
Well, I know that every single person in this stadium is proud of James Forrest, proud of his contribution for the club. Candidates, one more time, give it up for number 49, James Forrest.
Well, as you can hear, James Forrest gets his acclaim. Gabriel and David Friel, just a sort of fairy tale end, really, because 1-1 draw with St Mirren on the day. It doesn't impact anything. It was neither here nor there. But when the goal scorer is James Forrest, then it feels very different.
Yeah, it does. I think if that goal doesn't get, it's probably, I'm not saying it spoils the party at all, because Celtic are still about to get presented with the trophy. However, I think it just puts a different shine on the day, and it's an amazing historic achievement from James Forrest, just as Brendan Rodgers is about to speak as well here, Gordon.
Well, this is what it feels like to be Celtic. I think that today belongs to us all, for the supporters, the players, the staff. It's been an incredible season so far, with one more title to go, but everyone has given everything on the pitch and off the pitch, and for that we're all champions today. And Brendan, you mentioned the supporters, just how big a part do they play in creating what is this fantastic story of Celtic Football Club? This is what Celtic is about. I think the expectation that is put on us is because of their drive and ambition to be the very best, and that's why we work every single day of our life to make them proud, and hopefully they're proud this season. Well, Brendan, I know that everyone will be there, hopefully in the sun at Hampden next week as you go for the next trophy, but for now, I'll let you join your squad. Ladies and gentlemen, the manager of the 4-in-a-row champions, Brendan Rodgers.
Well, as you can hear, Brendan Rodgers now getting the acclaim of Celtic Park, and understandably so. Came back here to a mixed response when he decided to come back at the start of last season. He said he would see the fans at the end of May, and he did, and even then it was still taking time to win some over, but safe to say a successful campaign, a double in the bag, potentially a treble, and even Champions League progression this season. So we'll stay with it for now. It's hard for us to coordinate. I think the first player going up to get his medal, James Forrest and Brendan Rodgers joining them. Gabriel?
Yeah, Gordon, all of the players on the podium now in the sunshine. Brendan Rodgers just shaking hands with Neil Doncaster, and it's Callum McGregor. He has got his hands on the trophy, their fourth straight Premiership title, 13th in their past 14 years, and record equalling 55th title. Celtic are champions once again, and listen to this atmosphere.
Yeah, it's that winning feeling. Hugh Keevins, Brendan Rodgers said this is how it feels to be Celtic, and although these fans have experienced it quite a lot in recent seasons, I don't detect any of them finding it getting boring or repetitive in any way.
No, fans of any club, they never suffer from celebration fatigue. They want to celebrate every time out, and it's a day of history at Celtic Park. Brendan Rodgers, the most decorated Celtic manager alive. You have James Forrest, the most decorated Celtic player of all time now. The passage of time comes across my mind because I knew Bobby Lennox very well. Bobby still in Saltcoats, where he always lived, a Lisbon Lion, a fantastic player for Celtic, a very lengthy career with Celtic lasting almost 20 years, and now taken over by James Forrest. But I'm sure no one will be more delighted than the wee man in Saltcoats today.
Well, the party will continue for quite some time yet. Give us a call, why don't you, Celtic fans? How do you enjoy days like today? How do you look back on the season? And what about James Forrest? It wasn't the only game today. Big game at Easter Road in terms of entertainment value. Not a lot riding on it. but we had some good play, some bad play, some big refereeing calls. So give us your thoughts there, please. 01419511025, and we'll speak to you very soon.
The fastest goals, the expert opinions. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Celtic Park still full, no one in the mood to leave yet. David Friel, they want to soak all this in about 5 or so minutes after the trophy was held aloft once again.
Yeah, the place is still packed. Gordon, place absolutely packed. And yeah, the players are just round in front of the North Stand just now, showing off the trophy as well. I don't think any fan here is in the mood to leave. As we say, James Forrest was the one that got all the adulation just before the trophy lifting, and Callum McGregor lifting the trophy, and the players are just taking the chance. Family's not in the pitch just yet, but players are taking the chance just to soak it all up, and so are the fans.
And I mean, how does this one compare, David Friel? You almost feel obliged to do that for no other reason than Celtic do this so often, so you wonder how they keep hitting these standards and how the fans continue to, you know, enjoy these moments so much. Because as people on the outside, you always hear those kind of cynical comments, this must get boring, but I mean, look at the place. Of course it doesn't.
Yeah, of course it can't. You can't take this for granted, and I think any Celtic fan, you know, you just have to think back to the 90s, which was a pretty barren period. It'll be almost 30 years, and you'll remember this well, Mark, as well, when Celtic beat the Aberdeen in the Scottish Cup final, and I think that was 1995, and that was Celtic's first trophy in about 5 or 6 years back then. So I think when you look at the silverware count, the trophy count over the last 25 years, probably since Martin O'Neill came in, different times for Celtic, but I don't think you can ever take it for granted. And in terms of how this one compares, Gordon, I think it's also been achieved with a lot of style. Celtic have scored a lot of goals this season. I think they've played some of the best football of Brendan Rodgers both spells. I know that's always up for debate, but I think at times Celtic have been really, really entertaining to watch, and it's also been done against the backdrop of European progress. I think that's important. Celtic, the revamped Champions League format was good for them, and Celtic progressed. They gave Bayern Munich a real game in that last 16 playoff. So how does it compare? I think it's up there with the very best of the last decade anyway.
Mark, how do you feel about this period of dominance that Celtic are in? You have experienced the demands of the club and the moments like this, but similarly the disappointment. So what do you make of this current run that they're on? 4 in a row now.
Well, to be expected up until now, but I think David's right in saying don't take it for granted. When I joined the club in 2006, we went 3 years in a row, and I never got bored of winning it. Trophy Day, never took it for granted. And then we went, I think, 3 years without winning it. And I say don't take it for granted because this is a real pivotal summer for Rangers and what's going to happen in terms of the investment and the running of the club. So you never know what's round the corner or what's coming at you next season. And if we take it back to last season where Philippe come on, you know, it was neck and neck at one point, and then Rangers slipped up and Celtic took full advantage. It was supposed to be the new dawn, and Clement was going to be the challenger this year, and Celtic quickly saw that off. But again, you cannot take your foot off the pedal. For these players, it's an amazing achievement for the ones that have been there and done it. But I think what's also impressive is the ones that have come in and joined have been dragged along or dragged up to the standards that's required to continue to win trophies. And it's resulted in another opportunity to win a treble. And the fans should never, ever get bored of it, because you never know when it's going to stop.
I worked on this programme in May 1994 when Fergus McCann and I were thrown out of Celtic Park at the end of Celtic's game, and we went into the car park, into the Radio Clyde outside broadcast van, and Fergus McCann pleaded his case to be allowed to take over Celtic. And the fan response on this programme and in the days that followed was nothing short of astonishing. And Fergus McCann took over Celtic, removed the old board of directors, and Celtic today, those fans and players are sitting in the ground that Fergus McCann built. Celtic were 24 hours away from going out of business. That's football for you. They were nearly out of business, and but for Fergus McCann, that ground wouldn't be there, Brendan Rodgers wouldn't be there, and Dermot Desmond, who is in the stand there this afternoon, wouldn't have been there, because he then gave Fergus McCann £4 million 31 years ago and has contributed to the club every decade thereafter. And he is in Glasgow today, I am sure, to look ahead to next season with Peter Lawwell, Michael Nicholson and Brendan Rodgers. And that's what football is all about, and that's why the Celtic supporters are there today, thankful to have a club at all.
Although we said Gordon DL, these days will never get tiring, it's all about winning. Celtic have raised the bar to a point where fans probably wouldn't get much enjoyment. Some might not even accept stumbling over the line, or maybe one trophy, or making heavy weather of it. Because of what Celtic have done, and they've deserved it, they've raised their own bar. So you almost have to win in a bit of style. You almost have to win with a certain points total or a certain amount of goals scored. And they've really done all that, haven't they? When you look at the final table, that's it finished for the top six today. It's 92 points, it's 112 goals for.
It's an incredible season for them, Gordon. Yes, there have been days like today where they had to scrape a draw, for instance. Not a lot of days, I've got to say. Most of them, they played with style, they won the league with style. Look, Celtic are at a stage now, they don't want to just win the league, they want to win trebles. They want to progress in Europe as well. They want to put their name up there. They've got a man at the helm, Brendan Rodgers, who they now believe in, that he can take them the next step. You look at the way he improves players, the way they play football. They're enjoying their day to day. They're going for a treble next week. Everybody fancies them because they never lose at Hampden with Brendan Rodgers. So it's a terrific achievement. People just sort of take this for granted now. For Brendan Rodgers this year, if he could win a treble, it's absolutely brilliant achievement for him.
0141 951 1025. Give us a call, Celtic fans. What did you make of today's game and performance, if you want, or if you want to look at the wider picture, as we often do on Trophy Day? We're here for that as well. How would you sum up James Forrest's contribution on the day that he scored for a 16th consecutive season? And what about the other games as well? Dundee United in at the final minutes of the season to clinch a place in Europe. How good does that sound, Dundee United fans? It does appear that there's been a bit of an unsavoury incident at the end of that game with an injury to an Aberdeen player, so I'll tell you a bit more about that. We can take some of your calls, we'll get reaction from the games as well, including Easter Road. So whichever is on your mind, call us now and we'll try and speak next. Just a quick word from our podcast sponsors, Wire, the best way to own an electric vehicle. Wire is a car purchasing platform that only sells 100% electric vehicles. So they'll walk you through the process of selecting a fully electric car that meets both your needs and your desires. Wire prove that virtually every car buyer can go electric today. They've got affordable options, saving you thousands on your next car through the Salary Boost scheme. This scheme makes purchasing an electric vehicle a sensible financial decision. Make sure you check out trywire.com for more information and how you can sign up. Now let's get back to the podcast.
May we have your attention? Introducing the Volkswagen May sale. Get £750 on top of existing offers on the amazing Polo, the Made for Adventure T-Roc, and the electric ID4. Major. Visit your nearest Volkswagen retailer. You may just find the car you've been looking for. I said it was in May, right?
Yes.
Sale ends tomorrow, the 19th of May.
Stop it.
Search Volkswagen May sale. T's and C's apply. Retail buyers only. Order by 19th of May. Registered by 30th of August 2025. Volkswagen Finance.
I'm Katie Balls.
And I'm Fraser Nelson.
We're living through a time of historic change, with political and cultural shifts taking place across the globe. And just when you think you caught up, the world changes again.
As columnists for the Times and Sunday Times, our job is to take you to the heart of what's really going on, to offer different perspectives and to challenge the conventional wisdom.
Our columnists don't always agree, but that's the point.
Because great minds don't think alike.
They think for themselves.
Subscribe to the Times and Sunday Times online today.
The fastest goals, the expert opinions. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Well, Celtic Park is finally starting to quiet down after Trophy Day, all the celebration that goes along with it. Callum McGregor just currently speaking on television after yet another trophy for him. Incredible to think he's not the most decorated player in that dressing room, because that belongs to James Forrest, who scored again today. But that's Callum McGregor's 10th league title with Celtic, 4 as captain, so he really is at the heart of this sustained period of success. Don't forget the phone lines are open. It's just always a bit more challenging on Trophy Day, when we're back and forward. But please do give us a call, 01419511025 right now. Celtic fans, what did you make of the game today? What do you make of the season overall? James Forrest's contribution, the record breaking goal that he scored towards the end. Of course you can talk about the game specifically. There were other games as well, Easter Road, Tannadice. Lots to get through with Hugh Keevins, Mark Wilson and Gordon Dalziel. But it just looks like the players are all taking it in at Celtic Park. Hugh Keevins.
Yeah, Callum McGregor has his own particular type of distinction. I always feel that he took the place of Scott Brown, who was monumental as a Celtic captain, and the transition was seamless. McGregor picked up where Scott Brown left off. Trophies were won, trebles were won, and he has been an outstanding Celtic player and an outstanding captain. Like Brown, he will take some replacing when the time comes, but now is a day of celebration and a time to look forward to a Scottish Cup that offers the prospect of a treble and a world record breaking treble into the bargain. The time will come thereafter when people can talk about what happens at Celtic now. They've lost Jota, they may lose other players to the transfer system. Greg Taylor's future is undecided. Dyson Maeda apparently not yet willing to sign an extension to his contract. All of that will come after the cup final, but today, a day of undiluted celebration.
McGregor, I mean, just such an influence in this side. Even if you take that armband off, you think actually just the playing style of Celtic and how it really revolves around someone like him. And Scott Brown was the same. He was a real leader, Scott Brown. And in Brendan Rodgers' first period, he, extended Scott Brown's career. He taught him how to play a different way, and you seen Scott dropping so deep into the back line to get the ball on. It caused teams a problem, and Celtic got a lot of success from that. But Brendan Rodgers slightly changed that, and Callum McGregor's thrived off that. You add in the armband, and he is the heartbeat of the side. Everything flows through him, and if you take him out the side, you can see a real difference. And that's the real markings of a top captain, a top player, but a top captain. You take him out the side, you see a difference in terms of the levels, in terms of the drive of the team. And you just wonder how long he continues. I mean, he still looks fit as a fiddle. Retired from international duty, so he's playing less games, but he's still playing 50 plus a season. So it's not as if he's getting much rest. But he is going to be about for a long time, and he's going to keep that armband, and you wonder how many titles he can add to that in that time.
I agree with that, Mark. I think there's still a lot of mileage on Callum McGregor. I think he's getting better with age. He's more experienced. You look at him this season, he's added goals as well. He was a real threat. He's a leader, and he's well respected there. Obviously the fans love him as well. There's certainly, you look at that squad and you're thinking, right, who's got to replace him? I think it takes a big player to replace Callum McGregor, just what he brings to the club as well. But I think Callum McGregor has got a lot more miles in his legs.
Yeah, I mean, David Friel obviously been key to it, and those stats just quite incredible. A 10th league title for him.
Yeah, he has been, and he's a perfect captain for Brendan Rodgers in so many ways, Gordon. And it's just in terms of having that humility, but also he knows the standards. As guys were touching on, Scott Brown, he learned from him. I think he's taken it on again, and he very rarely misses a game. He obviously had that injury towards the back end of last season, but I think calling time in his Scotland career, which was obviously a blow for the country because he was such a mainstay of Steve Clarke's plans, I think it's just given him a bit of freshness this season. And the goals he scored from distance and just his general influence on the team, it just remains huge. Look, I do think Celtic down the line will start to think about a succession plan, who will take that mantle going forward, because I don't think you can rely on Callum McGregor over the next 2-3 years to still be playing 55-60 games a season. However, as an ambassador for Celtic, as a captain, he's first class.
Do you think today, David, was almost that, that kind of, don't want to go overboard, but the fairy tale element of it? James Forrest, it's been building up to seeing if he could score in his 16th consecutive season, But no, rather than just scoring the 4th goal in a easy win 5 weeks ago or whatever, it's the 93rd minute of the final game of the season.
Yeah, I was covering the game up at Pataudry on Wednesday night, and he was trying his very, very best. Dimitar Mitov denied him on a couple of occasions, and yeah, look, Brendan Rodgers, you almost get the feeling he'd been fed up, being asked about it over the last couple of weeks. Will you let James Forrest hit penalties, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, for it to happen in the circumstances, to get a draw, final day of the season, final seconds of the final game of the season, is just incredible. And I actually thought when the ball fell to Alistair Johnson that he'd picked the wrong option. I thought he should have taken a shot, but what do I know, he unselfishly plays it to James Forrest and he does the rest. But yeah, look, the stats and the accolades and the record of Celtic's most decorated player, you could go on forever about them. Again, very humble. We spoke earlier, he's a kind of reluctant hero, doesn't like the spotlight, but what a day for him today. And I just wonder if there's another chapter to be written next weekend as well for James Forrest.
There's a good question. I wonder how honest Alistair Johnson would be. Would he have passed it to Nicholas Kuhn? Did he see James Forrest out the corner of his eye and think, I better give it to him?
Well, yes, I think he looked at Forrest and thought, maybe play the percentages here. It's got to happen sometime. And it changed the whole complexion of the day for Celtic, because I know that nothing would have diluted the title winning celebrations, but you really, in your deepest subconscious, don't want to go into it on the back of a home defeat. So the fairy tale aspect was there. It was James Forrest. It was the dying seconds of the game. It saved the game from being a defeat for Celtic. It gave him a historical distinction, scoring in every season for the last 16. So it was just perfect for James Forrest.
Yeah, without doubt a fairy tale. But I thought, take away the goal and James Forrest, let's talk about his performance. I thought he just lifted Celtic. We spoke about Kuhn has been a top performer and deserves all the plaudits this season. He's been incredible, but his performance levels weren't there today. And it must be great for Brendan Rodgers to turn to someone as decorated and as old in terms of a winger like James Forrest and say, go and affect the game in a positive way. I thought he came on and gave so much, and that's when Celtic started to create chances from his direct running. And that's again why I think he's got a huge part to play next season, but in the immediate future, next week in the cup final. Brendan Rodgers must go away and analyse that and think, by the way, if we're going to start on the front foot and I'm looking for someone with real quality and who is in top form at the minute, James Forrest is my man. Now it might mean he plays off the left and put Maeda through the middle, but he's certainly an option for next week and a fairy tale ending for him to get the goal.
I agree with that. I certainly think that when the substitutions were made, I think Brendan Rodgers was probably angry, disappointed with the performances. He needed someone to lift the team. James Forrest is that man. I thought he was brilliant when he came on. I watched him the other night, and I think that's maybe why he was on the bench. His age, played the other night at Pataudry. I thought he was very good there as well. Got his goal. I will not be surprised if James Forrest doesn't start in 11 next week in the cup final.
Well, let us know. What do you think? 01419511025. You're more than welcome to tweet us at Clyde SSB. I mentioned that unsavoury incident at Tannadice. We'll give you Jim Goodwin's thoughts on it in the not too distant future, but just to bring you up to speed, so Jack McKenzie, Aberdeen sub on the day, it looks like, and obviously I'm choosing words carefully because I just wouldn't want to get the detail wrong. It's not for any sinister reason, I just wouldn't want to get it wrong. It looks like a seat or something was thrown from the stand and it hit Jack McKenzie in the head. He then had to be bandaged up and wheeled away. So fairly, I think unsavoury is probably an understatement, Hugh.
Or without doubt. I think it's a shame that Derek McInnes can't be at Kilmarnock and Hearts tomorrow because people are afraid of something unsavoury. And here we have a player.
To be fair, that might just be more of a kind of awkwardness thing, but this is a proper tangible incident that we don't want to see.
No, absolutely not. The playing surface is supposed to be the player's safe place. That's where he works. Now, it doesn't matter what the score was. It doesn't matter the implications of the score. You must not have a situation whereby professional footballers are injured by objects thrown from off the park. There will have to be a full-scale investigation into what happened, and there are too many full-scale investigations going on. Too many Police Scotland matters arising from football matches I know that there's a generational gap and that younger people want to behave in a certain way, but this cannot be allowed to go on.
Yeah, really poor from obviously whoever threw it, and the investigation will tell us that. But for McKenzie, he started off having a great season, and there's a game left to go for Aberdeen, a huge game at Hampden, and will that impact his chances of being in and around the squad? Not what anybody wants to see at the end of the season, especially when you've got a big game round the corner.
I think as well, Gordon, it become, we're seeing things get thrown all too often, and it was inevitable. That's it's almost like, it's fine to throw something until somebody gets hit. This is what everybody's been warning about. Like, I don't really know how people thought it wouldn't end this way at some point.
Yeah, you're endangering someone's life with that action. It's not acceptable. I think Mark makes a great point. Personally, for the player, he's got a cup final next week. We don't know the extent of the damage he's gotten. That could rule him out. One of the biggest games of his career so far. So we wish him all the very best, and hopefully the culprit is really punished for this.
In fact, I'll let you hear from Jim Goodwin on it just now, because we'll get in the rest of the post-match reaction making its way to us.
Look, I deliberately took myself out of the situation pretty quickly when the referee blew his whistle, and just got myself up the tunnel. I've heard since what's happened, and it's an absolute disgrace. I'm gutted for Jack McKenzie, who's a terrific young player, and for him to be hit and seriously damaged. I'm led to believe he's down having stitches right now, but to be hit by an object thrown by his own supporters, it's crazy. And it's not the first time. I've had a number of objects thrown at me throughout the season by the Aberdeen supporters, and nothing has been done about it. So maybe it'll take for a serious incident like this to happen in order for the authorities to really step in and take notice and punish those guys and ban them for football for life.
Yeah, not great at all. We wish Jack McKenzie well. Hopefully he recovers, and obviously the person who threw it gets caught and dealt with appropriately. But we'll wait and see what comes out in the wash. Details perhaps still a bit unclear at this early stage. We're going to of course get reaction from Celtic Park, but inevitably it's taking its time, because there are celebrations to be completed before Brendan Rodgers thinks about coming to speak to the press. However, Barry Ferguson has, so take a listen, Rangers fans. Let us know what you made of it. This was him on the goal that never was, of course. It looked to a lot of people like it had crossed the line. The VAR team, the officials, felt like they didn't have anything absolutely conclusive. Kind of shades of that Daisen Maeda one at Easter Road, and it wasn't given. But to make matters worse, Hibs went right up the other end immediately and scored. This was Barry Ferguson's take on it.
I don't think you need goal line technology for that incident. It's clear to say it's over the line. Yeah, look, I'm in the moment in the game. I don't really, I can't think back, but first thing I done was go over to our monitor and had a look, and it's clear as day. Clear as day.
Rangers have actually issued a statement on it, Hugh, or a Rangers spokesperson says incidents like this again bring into question the effectiveness of VAR and also highlight the need to introduce goal line technology. Our supporters, players, staff deserve better. We'll raise this with the Scottish FA and continue to press for initiatives which improve the accuracy of decision making.
Well, go ahead and raise it with the SFA, because Rangers like a statement, and that's not a criticism, but take it further, take it on from the statement, go and do something tangible, and then we'll see where the SFA take us. It's regrettable that we have VAR but do not have goal line technology. How much does it cost?
Pretty pricey.
Let's ask the practical questions then. How much does it cost? Is it affordable? Is it absolutely out the question that we have it? Let's do something tangible for the good of all.
The question has been asked before, Mark, and specifically on goal line technology generally. We can argue about this incident. The clubs can introduce it if they want. Fine, they need to pay for it. That's just the way it works. Are you trying to tell me that Nick Walsh, Willie Collum, any of their colleagues wouldn't want it?
Yeah.
The clubs can get goal line technology if they pay for it. But if you're St Mirren, your Motherwell, Kilmarnock, if you brought your Partick Thistle team up, you might, and it doesn't feel that way right now if you're Rangers and you're involved in the kind of heat of the argument, you might think, Right, let's look at that season. Every team played 38 games. That's a lot of matches of football. How many goals, how many times did we actually need goal line technology throughout the course of an entire season? Bet it wasn't many.
Yeah.
But then again, maybe you do want it for that one moment that could mean so much to you.
Yeah, exactly. And the one today doesn't mean anything really in the wider context. But it's still frustrating. I could have, of course, and I totally see your point. For Celtic, for Rangers, yeah, splashing a bit of cash on that sort of structure, no problem. But for the teams further down the league, then that is a big ask, and how it eats into your budget. I mean, just from my point of view, the one today is, like Barry Ferguson says, it's clear as day for me. So the issue is there something that I'm not seeing then? I've played the game for a long time. I've been in there in it. We all consume it on the TV, and I'm looking at that going, how can our officials, without goal line technology, think that that's inconclusive? I get the angles, I get the perspective.
I think that's the point, isn't it? So what Barry Ferguson's saying, actually, he doesn't think it takes goal line technology. He thinks you can just see it. I think something he didn't mention, I think what it does probably need is goal line cameras to be absolutely sure. And I take your point as well. Do you want to force me to answer, do I think it looks over the line? Yes, I do. Of course I do, the same way you do. I just wonder if you're sort of almost, there becomes a fear of guessing, or the Maeda thing kind of highlights the need for absolute conclusive proof. I don't know what that looks like, though, I must admit, having seen that today. That
looks like conclusive proof to me. So put it this way, how far over the line does it need to be conclusive?
I don't think it's that. I think it's probably the angle that gives you, as an example, if you can look right down on it, or you can look right along the line, then you would say. But everyone's now, quite rightly at times, got aware of the idea of perspective. And you'll remember the one in the World Cup. Do you remember? Was it Japan? It gets to the byline, everybody's saying it's out, like we are, every single person. But the spider cam in the stadium that day, wheeled across, was right above it, and actually told you, because remember, if 1 centimetre of the ball is overhanging any part of the line, then it's on the line and it's not a goal. So I think it becomes that fear of.
But we've not got a spider cam.
Exactly.
We've not got cameras on the goals, so we've not got that conclusive proof that they're looking for. What we've got then is what we've got just now, and that's surely that becomes conclusive proof.
Well, I believe it or not, I actually agree with parts of that, because I'm now thinking, well, if that isn't enough, will it ever be enough?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? What level of
there's a subtle difference between the Alistair Johnston one at Easter Road and this one involving Rangers at Easter Road. And for me, the subtle difference being that the ball's in the air.
That's true.
The ball being on the ground when Alistair Johnson took it over to Dalziel and he scored. Everyone could then argue whether it's over, all of it's over, none of it's over, whatever. But this time the ball's in the air, which makes judgment even more difficult for me. But I repeat, by all means protest, but carry your protest on and see if there. I ask another question, I don't know the answer. Do the SPFL have any form of central funding? Are they able to?
No, not really, I don't
offer
think.
money? Well, in that case, you have to have the clubs and say, okay, goal line technology, goal line cameras will cost X. Are you willing to pay 1/12 of X? And let's try and get a practical.
I think they have.
solution.
I think the clubs know what the cost is. It's much the same argument about the version of VAR that we've got. We could have brought in a version of VAR, Gordon, that had 40 cameras in every game, but the clubs would have had to pay for it. You know, it's not done. None of it's done just randomly. What did you make of this one today?
Honestly, when I seen it, I'm with you, I'm with Mark. I think looking at the angles, I think the ball's over the line.
Do you think you can be sure?
I think I can, yeah. In my opinion, right, unless I see something that really blows my mind, I think the ball's over. I think it's one of those, if that's given, I don't think Hibs are complaining.
It's a good point, that, because
I don't think Hibs are complaining.
This is where I think it is difficult, Mark, if you don't have this official conclusive proof, whatever that means. Because where this feels slightly different to Daiz and Maeda is some people looked at Daiz and Maeda's and thought that's out of play. Some other people, and lots of them, looked at Daiz and Maeda's and thought that's still in play. I think if we were all being quite honest and maybe put team biases and allegiances to one side, I think everybody thinks that's over the line today, don't they? I think that's maybe why the logic is the same, the principle is the same about conclusive proof, but it's almost like this is a slightly more extreme example, because fine, and Willie Collum or whoever else, if they're saying that's not conclusive proof, okay, will we ever get conclusive proof then to meet your standard, your criteria? Because if that isn't it today, it certainly does look quite a bit over the line.
And that's what I'm struggling with, to understand what that is. How, that's why I said, how far does it need to be over the line before there is that common sense? Yeah, that's a goal. Because
well,
then show me why it was ruled out.
Here's another one which just, this sounds bad, right? And it sounds extreme, but again, this won't be entirely different from other countries. See if it's a live television game, you're going to have more cameras there than when it's not a live television game. So see if that game's live on Sky today, I think there's every chance there is a camera there that picks that up.
Okay, yeah.
Now, does that make it easy to stomach? No, I'm not saying that makes it all okay.
Sometimes,
but
by the way, sometimes
that is the reality of it.
Themselves fix their own cameras, just, you know, inexpensive ones, GoPros and things behind the goals for their social media posts. I wonder if any in the coming days it will not affect the game, but if Hibs have a camera or Rangers sometimes have a camera,
out with evidence.
No, it doesn't matter to them, does it?
But like I say, to be fair, people think Barry Ferguson said he went and looked at it on Rangers' own monitor. He thinks that is the proof anyway. The Scottish FA, clearly won't agree. I think my understanding of the way these things work and how many cameras are there and where they are, I think if that same incident happened at Celtic Park today, the live Sky game, I think you get your conclusive proof.
By the way, did the referee get called to the monitor to check it, or was it just a VAR call?
Yeah, you wouldn't for that.
He wouldn't. No. So that's interesting as well. I know. I wonder if the referee on field, if he has a look at that and those pictures, if you had to ask him, do you think that's in? That would be an interesting conversation to see what he says.
But it's just not the question, is it? It's, do you think? That's not what the protocol allows to come into that bit. And then also you've got Nick Walsh is the referee, so he takes the can. But as the assistant referee generally would advise on whether the ball's over the line or not. It's there's a lot going on, shall we say. Right, plenty more reaction to today's talking points if you want to wade in on any of that or reflect on Trophy Day for Celtic and James Forrest and all the rest of it. Call us now and we'll speak to you next.
It's Clyde One Super Scoreboard's open line 0141 951 1025. After the action, it's your reaction 0141 951 1025. Clyde One Super Scoreboard's open line.
Hugh Keevins, Mark Wilson, Gordon DLR here taking your calls, but of course reflecting on Trophy Day at Celtic Park. We'll start getting some reaction when Brendan Rodgers and some of his players eventually make their way to the press room. We heard from Barry Ferguson. He is baffled by the decision to not award Rangers a goal, which led to Hibs going up the other end and scoring. Yes, I'm sure many people want to debate that, and they can, but the bigger picture is his future. Was it his last game in charge?
Well, we'll see over the next couple of days, but I hope not, because I know I can do the job. If I get the right tools, I know I can change it. So we'll just need to wait and see over the coming days what it brings.
Well, he's adamant. In spite of the overall picture being that in 15 games as interim manager, he was not all he might have been during the audition to be Rangers' permanent manager, but he remains adamant that he is certain he can do the job. And as he rightly says, over the coming days we'll get an indication, because that's it. The season's over for Rangers. The league season is over, and they have now got to take the steps that move people forward. So king among those is who's the manager going to be. So I would expect a definitive answer on that, not in weeks, because Rangers don't have weeks. That definitive answer has to come in a matter of days.
It's quite something, Gordon, that even the season is it's officially done. Rangers have played the last game. The clue is in the name. It's a post-match press conference, but Barry Ferguson, and by the way, not holding this against him, but still in the position where he said, I hope so. I hope it's still me. It's just, you do wonder how quickly this will move, and how many people out there think that it might still be Barry Ferguson.
Got to move quickly. I feel for Barry, because I think he deserves the right to know if it's going to be him or not. Me personally, I don't think Rangers will go down the road with Barry Ferguson. I keep saying it. I've praised him since the day he walked into the job, because I thought he brought the fans, the club, everything together. He's had a mixed bag of results, some real good results in there, and none bigger than going to Celtic Park. But I just feel that Rangers, under new ownership, a freshness, everything about them, I don't think Barry will be in the dugout for the start of next season.
You're in a similar boat to Mark Wilson, just in the sense that you've completed, or have you, an interim position. Just how do you look at it then, with a, like I say, similar feelings, but looking at it through the Rangers perspective?
Well, he obviously doesn't know anything, and that's because there's so much uncertainty about the club. And again, similar to where I find myself just now, those who are the key decision makers are still taking their time to, well, the difference is with Rangers, get in place at the club first and foremost, rather than make the decisions. So he's saying all he can say at the minute. He obviously loved his time in the dugout. He obviously thinks he can do better, as we all do as coaches. Everybody, tell me a coach that doesn't think they can do better with better tools, and he means better players. So of course he's still keeping himself in the running. I'm with us. I think there will be a change, but he's saying all the right things in the hope that somebody comes in and thinks, yeah, I like a lot of what you've installed, I like the standards. That's where Rangers have to be at. But I think it's more hope rather than expectation from Barry Ferguson at this minute.
Yeah, let's bring in Thomas, who's on the line. How are you, Thomas?
Hi guys, I'm fine, thank you, on this sunny day.
Beautiful weather, isn't it? What are you thinking today?
Terrific. Well, first of all, as a coming from a Blue Nose, the first thing you've got to say is congratulations to Celtic. The final league table doesn't lie. We can argue about decisions, anything else. The league table doesn't lie. The best team at the end of the season wins the league, and that's what Celtic have done yet again. So congratulations to them. My point doesn't involve Rangers. We were speaking earlier on about VAR and technology, etc. I want to highlight 3 decisions, 2 of which have come in the last 3 days, which 3 of the most howling decisions of the season, in my opinion. The penalty against Dundee, or the Dundee penalty, that didn't relegate St Johnstone, but didn't help, and the Nico Raskin goal, which I saw on the TV. There's another decision as well. There's one thing that these 2 decisions have in common, is Nick Walsh. The other decision I'm going to highlight is where VAR did get involved, and it was where Mohamed Diamandi was sent off quite a while ago, and the referee, and I'm sure it was Nick Walsh, was called to VAR when they said in his ear, have a wee look at this is really a slap, is it really a punch? Nick Walsh was called over to VAR. How many times do you see a ref go to VAR and come back and stand by his decision? But Nick Walsh stood by his decision and sent off Diamandi, which again, in my opinion, was a howling decision. One of the problems is, no matter what technology we get, we have bad referees, and I'm not saying that this is an anti-Rangers agenda, because one of them involved Dundee. We have bad referees, and even with technology, as well as having bad referees, we've got referees with massive egos, and I think Nick Walsh comes into that category. Where is the structure to deal with referees who are consistently not up to standard? I'm sure if the season was ongoing, I'm sure Nick Walsh wouldn't be relegated to League 1 or League 2. And I think that's where we need some form of discipline for refereeing going forward.
Yeah, I mean, on that, to be fair, that actually has happened this season now. It will never satisfy everyone. You might think it doesn't last long enough, and then eventually but there's been loads after the cup final, and there have been ones that maybe people haven't noticed. Various referees have been taken out, rested, call it what you will, Hugh, after mistakes. In fact, I think Alan Muir is now not refereeing, not in the VAR anymore going forward. I think the difficulty with when we want to pin like blame or accountability always on one person is today's a great example of that. Yeah, like Nick Walsh is the referee, and of course he can try and give the goal, but there is an assistant there who can flag if he thinks the ball's over the line, and in fact usually the assistant referee is the one, because he's looking along the line. Then there is a VAR team, and if the VAR team feel that they've got a conclusive angle, Nick Walsh wouldn't actually even make the final decision on it. They would just say goal, the goal would stand, So this notion that, and by the way, Thomas makes some good points. We all said our thoughts about the Diomande one at the time, but this notion that today is Nick Walsh's fault, I don't know if that stands up to scrutiny when there's so many other people involved.
Thomas would like to blame an individual when it's a team game off the park as well. So Nick Walsh, and that includes the decision given in favour of Ross County and against Dundee to award the penalty. That was a collective decision, not an individual's decision.
And by the way, see, on that, I think it's extremely harsh. I think you'll think it's extremely harsh.
Without doubt, yeah.
We should not rule out the possibility that in refereeing circles they actually don't feel that that's a howling mistake. They might say that hand is above his head and therefore it's a penalty. So again, when we broad brush everything or we package it all together, sometimes it puts maybe just a fraction of an exaggerated slant on it.
Yeah, but again, in summary, Thomas is blaming an individual when it is a collective. And I think fans, as they do with players, have favourites and non-favourites. And Nick Walsh, I think with Rangers supporters, comes into the latter category. Rangers fans don't like Nick Walsh in charge of their games, and that applies to Kevin Clancy. So there's nothing any of us can do about that. That's a personal matter. But the broad brush is that it's an individual who made the decision, but it was a collective decision to back him.
See the distinction, Thomas? Because I do take your point, and I wouldn't pretend to deny Nick Walsh is not involved or he's the referee. But if someone in his ear today says, listen, that's over the line, give the Rangers goal, then that's what would happen. And then very quickly, we wouldn't be having this discussion then.
That's where the speculation comes in. First of all,
no, that's exactly how it would work. Well, I'm not really speculating. I'm just saying if it was over the line, if they felt they saw something, it would be taken out of Nick Walsh's hands.
If the linesman, from what I gather, Far has it in the goal. Again, it's not down the Rangers. I know Hugh was saying that I'm not one of the supporters who has. I see bad refereeing, and I've seen Nick Walsh on the TV in other games, and I just don't think he measures up to it. I don't have an issue with Kevin Clancy or any of the other ones, but I do think there are one or two who are just not up to scratch, not only in Rangers games, in every game. With this one, where we have we're not privy to is the conversations. For example, we don't know, and again, I don't know if this is feasibly possible, but for example, to use the Nico Raskin example, is the linesman, has he got the facility to say to Nick, I think that's a goal, and Nick comes back to him and says, well, listen, I'm nearer the goal line than you are. I don't think it crossed the line. I think I had a better view than you. We're not privy to that conversation. I'm not saying that conversation took place. I actually don't know. Is that a possible?
Yeah, well, we tend to hear the VAR audio on all the big incidents now, Mark.
But the referee can speak to his assistant referee. They are mic'd up.
But sometimes I don't think you need to hear. I think it's quite obvious. Nick Walsh and the linesman don't think it's crossed the line. I don't need to hear the audio to know that, because they haven't given the goal, right?
Exactly. So it's a simple one.
Don't need to hear that. They don't think it's crossed the line. Now the audio will simply have to back that up. But what else could it be? And I'm not trying to be smart about that, but they haven't given the goal, so they don't think it's crossed the line. And I've not heard the VAR audio yet, but I would bet you any money it goes along the lines of, right, give me another angle. Do we think is that a cross? I don't think there's anything conclusive. Okay, on-field decision stands.
Yeah,
it can't be anything more than that. I know we build it up and we expect to hear something magical, but that has to be how it goes.
Yeah, and I actually have sympathy for Nick Walsh in this incident, because those are the ones you are heavily relying on your assistant on the line for. That's basically
or then
VAR's your backup. So I can excuse a referee because I'm not entirely sure where his position would be, but I can assume that it's going to be central, so he's going to be looking at it from behind, if that makes sense. So he can't judge, he's not got a perspective on it, but the assistant should certainly be able to see it. And if that fails, of course VAR's your safety net. So I think Nick Walsh should be excused on this occasion. I don't know much about his other decisions, but it's harsh pinning the blame on him today.
And then that is where worldwide Gordon VAR is a frustration in terms of the sort of order or the way decisions are made. Because if the linesman says, the assistant or Nick Walsh today says, I think that goal's in, give the goal, VAR is then not going to rule it out, because if it doesn't have conclusive proof one way, it doesn't have conclusive proof the other way. So that's where it is frustrating. You obviously, the VAR shouldn't take this away. The onus is on the on-field officials to try and get the decision right first.
Look, if I'm the Rangers camp today, I'm very disappointed that goal's not been given. Right, 100%. I look at some of the Thomas is talking about. There's some of the decisions that Nick Walsh has made. I can see why he gave the penalty for Ross County. Right, I can see that. If I'm Ross County, I'm screaming for that. If I'm Dundee, I'm thinking that is very hard on us. But I think that's a decision that you can't say as an obvious mistake.
Like it's not an objective official mistake. Like some people might consider it to be that, but it doesn't go down.
When I watched it back about 2 or 3 times, Gordon, I can totally understand why that decision was given. It's as simple as that. Today, I think the officials got that wrong. Right, I really do. I know all the excuses. You need that 100% proof, evidence that the ball's over the line. But for me, I think that goal should have stood today.
Thank you to Thomas. 0141 951 1025. Still time to get your calls in. We will speak to you when we return.
The games are over. The talking begins. 0141 951 1025. Clyde One Super Scoreboard's open line.
Hugh Keevins, Mark Wilson, Gordon Dalziel are here. I'm going to apologise majorly to Fraser Wishart. I've kept him hanging on for ages, but it's just such a busy day when this happens. He's not been sitting there all that time. He went away and came back. He's still with us, Fraser?
Yeah, still here.
Sorry,
You can hear me now.
At least you know what trophy day is like. You've been round this block many times. But I really want to get your thoughts. I know you won't mind because of how serious it is, and obviously you with your PFA Scotland hat on. Look, you've been big on this for a long time, Fraser, and now one of the players, one of your members essentially, I don't know the official wording on that, but has been hit with an object thrown from the crowd, and in a pretty nasty outcome as well.
Yeah, I think this is taken it to a different level now. A nasty outcome for Jack McKenzie, who's actually on our management committee as well, on our board at PFA Scotland, and we had a meeting the other day. He was there, so I'll have a chat with Jack at some point once the dust has settled. It's a pretty bad one, and if you see it on social media, he was wheeled off in one of these kind of chairs, bandaged around his head. He's had stitches. I'm not sure how bad it is. Jimmy Tilleen said he's had a number of stitches, and yeah, you're right, I've been on this for quite some time. It's Groundhog Day. Even just about 10 days ago I was speaking about it in an article in the Herald, saying I don't understand the mentality of people. But if it gets to the stage where a player gets injured and then we're contacted a union, then we're into a different domain. So I think today we've seen it recently. Sinisalo was complaining about all the stuff that's thrown at him. We've seen it Sean Mackey at United recently in the playoffs. We've seen it up and down the country. So it's not just at the Aberdeen supporters, but somebody somewhere thought it was good. And it's the area to the left of the dugouts, in the main stand. Somebody thought it was a good idea to break off a seat. Maybe I've been throwing it at Dundee United fans. A few of them apparently were goading, and it was no more than that, goading. They were on the pitch goading the Aberdeen supporters. Somebody thought it was a good idea to throw it. It's hit Jack McKenzie, and it's caused damage. And once the dust settles, football needs to take a hard look at itself, because football player has been hurt at his work, and that's unacceptable. We would not accept that as employees in any other walk of life, and players will not accept that anymore.
In your opinion then, Fraser, what's the kind of best way to tackle this? Because of course, look, we've been round this types of discussion before, where the police quite obviously should take action there. If you go and whack someone in the head in the street with a chair, you would get in trouble for it. So can the police do that? What more can clubs do? We've then obviously had the argument about do you punish a club overall for the actions of one fan and so on. So we've had these discussions before. Now that we've got to a pretty serious stage, what's the most effective way?
Well, I think the most effective way is for people to actually sit down and try and find a solution to it, because what we've got at the moment, football is governed by the clubs. The clubs make the rules for clubs. So the clubs make the rules for investigations in these situations, and the SFA and their rules are not allowed to investigate a game that involves it's an SPFL game. So it's down to the SPFL, and I've got every sympathy with the SPFL, every sympathy with Aberdeen as a club, and every other club when their fans misbehave. But what I can say is, we've seen a real uplift this season in bottles and objects being thrown at people. Jim Goodwin was talking about it in the media conference there, about from the same place in the stand in December. He was hit by, I think, a quarter bottle of vodka, an empty one or something like that. So I think we've sat back and have warned and said, when somebody gets hurt, we need to have a conversation. It needs to go to a different level. And I think this almost has to be taken out of the hands of the clubs and the governing bodies and ourselves and the managers and coaches, because their members are getting hurt as well, should sit around the table and say, right, what's the best way forward? Now, nobody wants to be closing stands and sanctioning clubs is the last thing on the agenda, but what's happening just now isn't working, and that's where we have to start from. There's an issue. What we have just now isn't working. How do we solve this? Because what went on today just took on to a different level. It's pretty bad. Have a look in social media if anybody's listening, and have a look at just search for Jack McKenzie. You'll see the photographs. Quite disturbing.
Do you detect an appetite, Fraser, for things to change in any meaningful way, or people to really try and think outside the box? Because I think we would all accept that it's quite complex, and there are a lot of parties there and stakeholders, as you mentioned, and finding the perfect solution might be difficult, but you kind of have to when stuff like this is happening.
Well, they have to, but will clubs want to do it? No, is the answer. So that would be step one, if the clubs have any interest in trying to find a solution to it. And my concern is, you talked about stakeholders there, that's the best way of doing it. Solve it within football, because remember, Dundee United, every football club that puts on a football game has to have a licence from its local authority. The government have looked at this over many years and are looking and seeing what is going on. And local authorities are saying, violence took place in an event in a public park. We'd close it down and they wouldn't be allowed to have it again. That's where we get to. If it gets out of football's hands and it gets into politicians, into government's hands, and into the police's hands, that then becomes a major problem. None of us want that. So we have to try and find a way, at least to be trying to do something, rather than just sitting saying, we'll just get football banning orders, it's up to the police. Of course it is. But football has a responsibility as well, and the governing bodies and the clubs have a responsibility to protect our members and the managers and coaches members as well when they're in a place of work. So I think conversations have to be had in the coming weeks.
Yeah, thank you very much to Fraser Wishart. A very unsavoury incident into that game, a great occasion for Dundee United, but at the end of it, that's a real worrying incident involving Jack McKenzie, and we hope he is okay. I do want to end on a bit more of a positive, so just forgive me for moving on so quickly, but I can see time getting against us. Let's hear from Brendan Rodgers on, no surprises, James Forrest.
He's created the narrative today. It was it was a brilliant way to end what has been a fantastic league campaign for us, and I wasn't sure if he was going to do it. He came into the game. I moved him over to the left side to see if we could get him to cut inside a wee bit more, and then he didn't quite get the service on that side. And then I moved him back to the right, and I think Alec Johnson deserves a great amount of credit, because it looked like he could shoot, but he's kept the composure, made the pass, and James has finished it so well.
Give the final word to you, Mark. You were there at the start, you saw it in its infancy. Did you ever think that 16 seasons later James Forrest would still be scoring goals for Celtic?
In the greatest respect, no, because it's such a unique and difficult thing to achieve, particularly at one club. To be at one club the size of Celtic since you're 9 years old, throughout the academy, to then make it anywhere near the first team is a stretch. To have the longevity that he's had in his Celtic career, the medals that come with it, and then this recent accolade, a 16 seasons and scoring in every one, is quite something. I don't think it will ever be beaten or rivalled again. He's an exceptional player with a great attitude, a great role model, like Brendan Rodgers says, for any young player going through any academy.
And just like that, Hugh Keevins, another Scottish Premiership season almost draws to a close. Sum up what we've learned or what we've seen at the top half and what remains to be played for tomorrow.
We have seen ruthless efficiency from Brendan Rodgers and those Celtic players. You win the title because of 38 games, not just because of today. And over 38 games, they established a 17-point lead over their nearest challenger. It is ruthlessness of the highest order. It is for their biggest challenger, Rangers, to accept new ownership now and to try and break the cycle of success at Celtic, the cycle of failure at Ibrox, and that will start Monday morning when Rangers begin the search for, I think, a new manager, even though Barry Ferguson says he believes he can do the job.
Only 3 more games remain of the Scottish Premiership season. The table is almost complete. Well done again to Celtic, crowned champions a while ago, lifted the trophy today. Hibs again, a fantastic season, finishing third, but today wasn't without its drama. Dundee United, a late run to get that European spot in fourth as Aberdeen dropped to fifth, and St Mirren 6th place. Tomorrow, though, it's all about those playoffs. Will it be Ross County or will it be Dundee, who take on Livingston for the final place in the Premiership next season? Enjoy the rest of your weekend. The GBX will be coming up later this evening, of course, as always, to see you through the rest of your Saturday evening, and we will be back Monday night to look back on it all.
The Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast with Trywire.com. Save like a world-class keeper. Get a great price on your next car.
May we have your attention? Introducing the Volkswagen May sale. Get £750 on top of existing offers on the amazing Polo, the Made for Adventure T-Roc, and the electric ID4. Major. Visit your nearest Volkswagen retailer. You may just find the car you've been looking for. I said it was in May, right?
Yes.
Sale ends tomorrow, the 19th of May.
Stop it.
Search Volkswagen May sale. T's and C's apply. Retail buyers only. Order by 19th of May. Registered by 30th of August 2025. Volkswagen Finance.